We are live. What is up? It is the Livestream Lounge. It has been at least a month. So much happening. We're also hanging out today with Shaun Sarcona, the Media and Communication Arts Program Coordinator, as well as the Faculty Advisor of Animation. Oh my gosh, you were here a year ago. We had so much to chat about with
we were so young, we were so naive, we hadn't been in our building yet.
no we hadn't, and so now we're a little older, a little wiser. We talked a lot about the future of education, and we've got a lot of cool things to talk about today. I cannot wait. Also behind the camera is Chiqui Romero, who also was here last year hanging out with us.
Exactly 1 year from August.
Yeah.
So
which is wild.
coincidence.
So I'm going to get some drinks together, and then we are going to get the party started. So much to chat about. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but a new addition to the lounge is, I thought it would be fun if we start drinking from these old school glasses from Burger King and Wendy's and all the places. I've got classic Star Wars, Empire and Jedi, or Star Wars, Empire and Jedi, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Battlestar Galactica, and E.T. This is the craziest thing. The year was 1984, and you could go to Wendy's. You could go to Wendy's, and you could get a Mola Ram high. It even says on the back, High Priest Mola Ram performs a terrifying thuggy ritual. Yeah, he just ripped someone's heart out of their chest, and now it's on fire. And families could go and get this at Wendy's. Get this collectible glass. In fact, I'm going to drink out of this one tonight. Which glass would you guys like? What are you guys feeling today?
I'll take Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, right here. This one?
Yep, that one there.
The old school. All right. Cheeky.
I love E.T.
E.T. All right. We've got E.T. with the moon in the background and the bicycle. We've got E.T. with all the stuffed animals. We've got Gertie, Drew Barrymore, about to kiss E.T. And then we've got the strange E.T. finger with Elliot glass.
Definitely the moon.
The moon, all right.
Classic.
Yes.
There we go.
This is the kind of stuff that they don't do anymore. They really need to do more of this to get people back in. Because we were alive when they did this.
I know. And they still look just like they did way back when.
And you said 84, right? This is a 40-year-old glass.
Well, this one's 77. That one's 84. Yeah. This would have been 82, I believe.
Yeah.
Probably even. And this is Pizza Hut. Does it say on there the year? 82.
82.
All right. I'm going to get some ice over here. Cheeky, are you doing a coffee drink at first, or are you doing something else?
I don't know if my heart could take coffee.
I was going to say, do you even do calories?
Yeah, I get some caffeine. I get a little tired at work if I don't get it. So
you got to keep moving around.
Yeah.
So no coffee drink for you. Do you want a candy bar drink without coffee?
No, I'll take coffee.
You'll take coffee? So you want the full candy bar drink?
Yeah, I'll take it. I like the taste.
And then the viewers let us know how wild the camera work gets as he gets more coffee in them.
Yeah.
Sure. If it starts shaking, I got a stabilizer. So
yeah,
right. So we'll see how good the stabilizer is.
Yeah, we'll put it to the test tonight.
This is the kind of stuff that I really appreciate when you go to someone else's house and they have this setup. I don't have this setup. I am totally unorganized with everything that I do. We went to one of our cousins' house and they had a freezer full of ice cream bars. And I'm like, that is what I want at my house. I can't have that at my house because that would be horribly irresponsible. But I love that.
Well, horribly responsible for when no one's there, but then when you have guests over, it's the thing to do.
No, we have to have a guest tomorrow. That's the thing. I dropped your person too. I think.
Oh, that's fine. I have a funny story about those figures that I'm going to be sharing a little bit later. That's kind of timely, something that just happened today. All right, a little bit of coffee. A little bit of coffee. A little bit of coffee.
Mixers with Matt. Let's change the live stream name.
I wish I knew how to make more more drinks. You know who used to be a bartender? Tom Savage.
Oh, really?
He actually is. He's really good at whipping up some quality cocktails. All right, this is Ryan's Irish Cream.
Animators, take note of the way that the cream mixes with the coffee drink.
Yes. Oh, reference.
Yeah.
There are animators that specialize in exactly that. In I forget what it's called, but things like smoke and water.
Yep. Usually it's FX, technical directing, visual effects.
But there's such an awesome science to like the movement of natural things like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that got me interested in 3D was just using dynamics and just throwing some values together, hitting the play button, and then seeing what happened.
Yeah.
Watching the chaos unfold as you changed the gravity to 10,000 or something.
Yeah, I believe in the movie Dune, they use real helicopters on a desert. So
Oh, really?
They have that reference on, the weird dragonfly
Yeah.
helicopters that they had there, just to know exactly how the smoke and the sand moved around
Yeah.
with propellers.
If you want to have a movie ruined for you, at least the end visual effects, in Star Wars Episode 3, when they're fighting on I'm horrible with names of things in Star Wars.
I got one more thing to add too.
Okay. What was the lava planet?
Oh, Mustafar.
Yeah. So on that lava planet, when the two are fighting, watch the explosions in the background. They recorded volcanic explosions.
Oh, wow.
And if you watch it close enough, you'll see like the same explosion 55 times.
Yeah, you would never know unless you look for
Right,
it.
unless you look for it.
All right, so I've got some 0-cal flavors. You guys get to choose salted caramel mocha, glazed donut, peanut butter cup, butter toffee, and that's it.
I'm going to salted caramel.
That's a 2 for me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Salted caramel.
Me too.
Sorry, salted caramel mocha, actually.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
You're gonna be that one.
Yeah.
All right. Salted caramel mocha for ET. And then do a little bit of a mix. These are so funny. I got these because I was like, oh, it's kind of Rockstar with the star on it. And then I realized after I got them, oh my gosh, these are like fairy godmother, like fairy princess.
Well,
I'm
you're
fine
making
with that.
magic right now. You're good.
Right.
Here, Kalima, Shock Today, Hearts on Fire, and E.T. Phone Home. All right. And with that, cheers to careers in creativity. Boom.
So good.
All right. Rock and roll. We're going to get your comments coming up real soon. In the meantime, we have our opening. Goes something like... Oh, do I have a new, I'm not used to it yet, but there we go. Woohoo! And Brittany Voice says, hi, Matt and Shaun. What is going on?
Hey, Brittany.
I like the Indiana Jones glass. Me too. There really is nothing like a high priest, Molaran, performing a terrifying thuggy ritual at Wendy's. Tom Savage, why, thank you, sir. We're going to have Tom on soon. We're going to be play testing his game, his new game that he's doing.
That's awesome.
My mom says, whoa, that is one strong drink. It's not, I mean, I don't know. It's maybe a little, just a little magic for the coffee. All right. So we have a lot to chat about Here we go. It is the live stream lounge. Oh, whoop, the stream deck doesn't, I keep pushing the wrong button. And here we go. All right. Our special guest today is Shaun Sarcona. He is the Media and Communication Arts Program Coordinator and the Faculty Advisor of Animation. Thank you for coming out again today. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for having me.
So much to chat about. Real quick, though, we have another special guest today behind the camera. Oh, wait, we made drinks with this. A little out of order. Behind the camera is Cheeky Romero. And what is up, Cheeky? I would be remiss if we didn't mention that your film won 6 awards, including first place for Jack at the comedy role. You had us all in stitches. The film was so funny, so well acted, so well edited. Everything about it was amazing. And there was a lot of really, really funny films, but I don't think there was a doubt in anyone's mind which one was the winner. And wow, that was amazing.
Thank you so much.
You've won a ton of awards over the years for your filmmaking. That is so cool, man.
Yeah, it's a real treat. I remember when I first started my career, it was pretty much in your class actually with pre-visualization.
Yeah.
I didn't know much of anything with filmmaking. I had some experience in high school, but I didn't really dive in deep.
Yeah.
So because of Macomb and because of your class, getting into horror film roulette, that's really what was the nexus of my filmmaking career.
Yeah.
So getting all those awards, winning first place, man, that was just...
You know what, though? Shaun and I were talking about it before you even got here. It was very clear, even as a student, you were so excited about every project that you had, and you could tell you always did more than you were asked, and you really wanted to learn. You could see the value. You know, some students, and I get it, like you have all your classes and everything is work, and you just want to go home and play video games and everything, but you really understood the value of your time there, and you didn't want to waste a minute of it. And you were, it was clear you just had this energy, and you still have it today. And that's why you win awards like this. So rock and roll, man. Thank you. And thank you for helping out today.
Of course.
Yeah. Lots of dedication goes into that. I mean, we could have a whole live stream of just the process of you coming up with the idea and writing it and editing it and acting it and all of these things. But the underlying thing is your dedication to making that story come to life, because it wouldn't have gotten there that far if you didn't have as much as you do. Even if you had only a quarter of it, it still wouldn't have got there. Like, so bravo to you, because it does take a lot of time and energy, I'm sure, on top of everything else you have going on in your life.
Yeah, I did not sleep very well during that month.
Right.
And then we were also talking about this before the live stream started too, just the team effort and how that's such a challenge, because you're trying to take everyone's ideas, but at some point someone's ideas aren't going to work, and everyone really just has to understand what's best for the film. And that's why a lot of times there has to be a director that way they can call the shots and say, listen, this is just what it's going to be, and hopefully people can be cool with that. And if their idea gets shot down, it just doesn't mean their idea was bad or anything about them. They just, you have to pick and choose. You can't use everyone's ideas, or that wouldn't work either. So
absolutely, it's a collaborative effort, and I worked with amazing people. Cody also was my co-director and co-writer, and honestly, you only have so much of an imagination that you got to kind of pick someone else's brain just to get some ideas off of, because you get burnt out so easily. Two minds together on one project, you could truly create some stuff that you would have never thought of.
Oh yeah,
and it just complements each other so well. So it was a real treat working with other people and actually getting all the gags and the jokes together and figuring out how exactly we're going to edit this thing and what's the punchline and just all of that. It's so awesome when you're just sitting down and laughing your ass off.
Yeah.
When you come up with another joke and go, write that down right now.
For sure. And, I felt that way for all the years working on Aladdin 3477. There was never a moment where I felt like it has to be my idea. It has to be mine. I listened to every idea, and I didn't always use them. But the greatest thing in the world, when someone said they had an idea, I was like, please, what is it better than what we're already doing? Is it funnier? Will it work? And then sometimes it was something that was really funny, But then I had to really think about, wait, what's the moment here? What happens right before this? What happens after this? Is this really going to take people out? Sometimes it was almost too funny, and maybe it might be a little distracting. So there's so many things to consider. But I loved when people had ideas, and they didn't have to be mine. I just always wanted it to be the best. And teamwork is where it's at. All right. So, whoops, we've got new videos here. How do I turn? There we go. Sorry about that. We've got new videos that have come out. There is a full audiobook of the official collector's edition. You can check out the whole thing for free, the entire book. You can hear it and you can see it. Also, a video recently on painting locations and how to achieve depth. This works for any kind of painting, including digital art, the things that you want to look for. I also had a video on the biggest lesson I've learned in my career, and it was through an epic failure. It was my own fault. Thank goodness it was early in my career. You have to check that video out as well. Pearls of Wisdom. Last week, actually, ironically, we're going to be talking a little bit about education in a minute. Why go to art school? And of course, you absolutely should go to art school. And in fact, we were talking about that a lot last time, about how there's always one artist someone can name out of millions of artists that didn't go to school. But what you'll find about a lot of those artists is, even if they found success doing that one thing, they're kind of a one-trick pony that was really lucky. But if you really want to flourish and get into the industry, having a well-rounded education obviously is going to take you a lot farther.
Yeah, and a lot of it too, anytime you go to, and we're talking about art school, but anytime you go to any school, 90% of your stuff you could learn. I could learn how to fix my car. I could learn how to build a house or whatever by watching YouTube videos, by doing all this other stuff. But getting the hands-on, getting the instructor they've been through all of the garbage, and they have this defined line of like, this is how we're going to get you from A to B as fast as we can get you there without any of this other nonsense. The nonsense is important along the way, but you don't want to spend 16 weeks learning something that takes 2 weeks to learn, right?
Right.
You want to get there as fast as possible. You want to get there in a way that makes sense for what you're doing. There's sometimes where you might learn something which is really amazing, but then there's no market for it, right? Or you might have like, we get this all the time. Well, I can draw. And then they show us their drawings, and their drawings are more of like just copies of other people's drawings. They haven't found their own voice. They haven't found their own style. You can get that on your own sometimes, but you really have that environment that helps you get to those pieces. It helps you find your style by seeing how you draw and how you draw and how I draw, and then finding what works best for us and feeding off of each other. That's the main part of any school that you go to, is that dynamic environment.
Yeah, for sure. When I think about my education, not everything that I've learned, that I've put into this career, was necessarily something from school, because then you have experience and you learn from that as well. But definitely in terms of my academic education, it really is pulling from this teacher. I learned this from this class that I didn't think I was going to learn anything. I actually did take a lot from that, more than I ever thought I would. It really is the smorgasbord.
Yeah.
That,
I remember one of our students, Ryan, came in one day from illustration fundamentals, I believe it was. And he says, that's it. I'm never drawing a person without drawing perspective first, because he saw how important it was to draw the box of the person.
Okay.
And then lay them out that way. He's like, it totally changed my drawings from looking super flat to looking 3D and actually feeling like there was some depth to that character.
Yeah.
And so just that one lesson, that one day, changed fully how he draws his stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, right? And obviously you're focused, so you have little goals you're setting along the way, which definitely helps. We both still, go to learn stuff all the time. I'm always taking a class or something, trying to find out what else is out there.
I was just going to say, I am also a student for life, but I'm always hearing about, I think you took an electronics class like a couple of years ago, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated by it. Like, so what are you doing in there? And like, Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And some of the stuff, like especially in the art world, because we kind of touch on every sector, right? So you can't have cars if you don't have advertisements. You can't have electronics unless you know a manual that can show you like how to use the electronics or any of that. So in 3D, there's actually a video I saw where these people would use real life robots. They would take the real life robot motors and they would put them into 3D and they would animate their characters in 3D, just like sliders and whatever else. Once it looked good there, they would export the data out. They would put it into their program and their real life robot would do the animation you saw on the computer, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild.
It is.
Okay, so real quick for Tuesday, you guys have probably already seen this video that I put out a couple years ago. It's a really good video on foreshortening with robots. I don't want to get into it too much. If you're having trouble with foreshortening, check it out. And on Tuesday, I have an advanced video on foreshortening where I show foreshortening in real life with little maquettes, and I filmed it all on my phone. And it's really cool because rather than just looking at drawings of it, you can see in real time how the foreshortening changes depending on how close or how far you are. Check that out. Faux shizzle. Real quick, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I've been doing an experiment for the 4 last months on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. So a lot of people have been saying for 2 years that if you put out a new reel or a short or a TikTok every single day, within a month, you'll have 20,000 new subscribers. That is not true anymore. So anyway, my results have been kind of dismal. I don't want to talk. We've got so much to talk about. I don't want to go over it too much. In the last month, though, I've been on it. On Instagram, actually more than the other ones. Instagram, I have 37 new subs. TikTok is 17. And YouTube usually is my highest and only 9 on YouTube. So this was a really dismal month for new subs. You know, social media is so weird because there's no one way to track it anyway. Because you could have 500,000 subs and still be putting out videos that only 100 people watch.
Yep.
And at that point, it doesn't matter how many subs you have. Or you could have not many subs, but 15,000 people watch your video. So it really, it's really hard to gauge.
Yeah, it is. And that's all of those things. And it's a very fun thing to say that I want to be an influencer or I want to, get my main income from these sites. But it's very difficult. Like you said, it is not easy work to build a following. Obviously, you have hundreds of videos on your YouTube and your Instagram. TikTok, I'm not sure how many you have there.
Not a lot, because I just kind of started. So
yeah.
Not many.
But I know your Instagram and your YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you're engaging. You have your live streams. And it's just a matter of like hitting it. So like on TikTok, you could be someone who just has like a good kitschy thing 1 week and your followers go through the roof and then nothing, right?
Yeah.
So it is something where you do have to constantly engage and constantly do those things and pull in more people. And hopefully you hit that right line.
Yeah.
During COVID, there was, and he still does them, Andrew, never remember his last name, but he's a 3D modeler. He built the Guardians of the Galaxy ship. That was like his first modeling project.
Yeah.
He was doing live streams on Twitch.
Oh, wow.
For 3 hours, he was doing stuff, and he would just talk about, like, here's all the stuff of how I model something, and he was, like, live modeling while he did it. And it had, like, 50 people that would watch it. I'm like, this is insane. Everyone get on there, because this is, like, gold, everything he's saying.
Yeah.
But he just didn't. He didn't care about it. It was just, like, a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's tough.
You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of things, too, that I think hurt me because I'm not just a channel of Star Wars art. There's also Aladdin. There's also Macomb College. There's also I just got married. There's also I'm going to have a baby soon. So a lot of people would say, dude, you need to scrap everything out, just Star Wars art or just Aladdin 3477. But I just, I want to be more than that. I would rather post what I want to post than have, you know, 1 million subscribers. But oh man, I don't want to post this or then I'll lose subscribers. That'll make my algorithm go down. And I just, at the end of the day, it's,
well, that's a scary thing too, because obviously YouTube's been around a long time. Instagram has, but you know, before TikTok, there were several other applications that came by, and every time you would build up a following and then they would cancel it out and you have to build it up again and cancel it out and build it up again. Yeah. So you have to be on multiple ones in order to make sure you're staying connected to those people that want to find your content.
Yeah.
While at the same time competing for content, for viewers from all this other content.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you do it and where you have the time to do it, but holy cow.
Yeah. Well, a trick that I think is helpful that a lot of influencers do is they make a huge chunk of TikToks or Reels, whatever, and then they just put them out every day. And then they'll, like, every 2 weeks, they kind of get a film crew together and they just rifle off a bunch of stuff. And then, so earlier this year, I made like a ton. I went through a bunch of my art and kind of worked on a bunch of pieces. And so I had content for quite a while. Let's get to some comments real quick, and then we're going to get to some good juice here. So glasses collection, super fun. Hope you're all having a good night. Thank you, Mama Rick. Absolutely. Jack was a gem. Oh yeah, for the short film for the comedy role. That was Eric Steele. How you doing, Eric? DTE Livestream Lounge is on. Heck yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us. KB Tunes, hey, Matt and Shaun. See you during the 2024 fall semester. Yes, awesome. Daniel Phillips, what is shaking, Matt? Dan Phillips, have you met Dan Phillips? He's a special effects makeup artist. He's worked on like the Hobbit movies and Real Steel, a bunch of stuff. And I want to have you on the Livestream Lounge real soon. Speaking of having on the Livestream Lounge real soon, Tom Savage, this was a huge topic. Oh, at the Web Comic-Con. Dude, that's one of the things I want to chat with you about. I was at this weekend. We had a handful of creators and writers and artists who all had million-count audiences, and this is a struggle for them too. And new creators have almost no chance of building an audience unless they are prepared to pay money that they can't earn because they can't get seen. That whole thing is hard too, because what you're paying for isn't a determined thing. You're kind of just throwing money while other people are throwing money too. And that's another algorithm of how many views do we give to this person who's paying money versus this person who's paying money. And it's just like, you're throwing money at invisible services. You just don't know what you're going to get for that coin.
Yeah, especially because it is so enticing to, for $10, we'll give you 1,000 views. So like, oh, that's pretty good, $10, and people will pay it.
Yeah.
Get those 1,000 views, hoping that it skyrockets, and most of the time it doesn't.
Well, and then too, like, where are these views going and where are they getting them from? It's just kind of
right.
Are they quality views, people that might be subscribed or people that might be interested in your content? So
right, here's people looking for art. Let's feed them Matt stuff.
Yeah.
Or is it here's people looking to crochet? Let's throw them Matt stuff.
Yeah, that's creative.
Yeah.
The audience hustle is real. That it is. All right. So real quick, before we dive into some of the nitty gritty, Shaun, you have had 1 or 2 vacations recently?
Just one vacation this year.
Okay.
So every year we try to do some vacation, explore the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this year we flew into Vegas. This was like in May. Flew into Vegas, and then we did a road trip through Zion, and then we went over to Moab, and then went down to Sedona, and then came back to Vegas. So this that you're seeing on here, this is Arches National Park, and that's one of the arches that are there. And if you've never been to southern Utah, it's insane.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff online. I had no idea that these things existed in real life.
Yeah,
I did, obviously, but it just to scale is insane. You can see the tiny people there.
Yeah,
and people will climb up on the very top, but they will climb up pretty far.
Yeah.
And there's some times where like they'll climb up in areas where it's like, this is very dangerous.
Yeah, I see this every semester actually, because a lot of my students, when doing the landscape project, like this is one of the places that over and over kind of comes up, just breathtaking.
And then this is the Devil's Hell's Backbone or Devil's Backbone, something like that. This is a Hummer tour that you can take where they take you around the rock structures where you're going in a Hummer with about 10 other people in an 80-degree angle up rocks and over the top of them. And we got to see the best sunset I've ever seen in my life.
Now, when you say take a Hummer with 10 other people, there's 10 people in the Hummer?
Correct. There's 10 people in the Hummer.
Okay.
Maybe it's an exaggeration. Maybe it's 8.
Okay.
But there's definitely more than I would be comfortable driving up a 80-degree mountain with.
And it's probably one of those, like I used to have the Soccer Mom Hummers where it's an H2, I think or H3. Yeah. So it's actually just a suburban chassis, but these are probably H2s that are
these
the
are
really
the original
wide
ones. Yeah. This was insane. And they've said they've had them for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
But you go up here and it's just the top of the world basically. And you just watch the sunset for an hour basically. It's amazing.
That is so cool.
That's what the sunset looks like afterwards.
Yeah. I actually was looking at this earlier and I said, you know what? I need to save this because the next time I do a landscape demo, this image checks all my boxes for color, texture, depth, like all the things. And I really want to paint this. It's a beautiful, beautiful photo. Super cool.
Yeah. And then we also went on Route 66. So if you've seen the movie Cars, Route 66, there's a
oh my gosh. And that's I've never seen the Cars movies, but that's Tomater or whatever his name is with the teeth.
Yeah, that's Tomater there.
Okay.
And then I forget the guy's name, the sheriff, that's the cop car.
Okay.
But there's a little town and they have like an old diner. It's like nothing at all around.
Yeah.
And you hit this town and it's all like Cars and Route 66 memorabilia.
Oh my gosh.
And it's very weird too, because looking it up online ahead of time, they're like, this town wasn't the inspiration. This other town was.
Yeah.
But the other town was like nothing. This town was the one that like you see it. But who knows? Yeah, it was very cool. And then this was hiking in some slot canyons, so these things just go up 60 feet straight up, and you're just walking between these things for 2-3 miles unbothered by anyone at all, because you're just in the middle of there.
This reminds me, speaking of animation, this reminds me of A Bug's Life when they're traveling through, the cracked mud, and the bird is like trying to get them through all the cracks in the mud.
And then there's what they look like on the ground.
Wow. And
there's no, like, if you haven't traveled before, one of the things to pay attention to is, like, this isn't Disney World. This isn't, an attraction. This is the Earth. Mm-hmm. And they just have, like, a sign, start here, and you go. And there's no, like, end of the thing. There's no, like, watch your step. There's no anything at all. You just go. And if you go the wrong way, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But it's a part of the world where, it's amazing to see because you don't see any of that really around here to the same level.
Yeah. Wild.
And then this was in Vegas. I'm showing this because I thought it was crazy. We have around here, I think probably the fanciest store I've ever been to is Somerset Mall, the south side of it, where things are like crazy expensive. This was an art store in Vegas where that sculpture, I think, was like $10,000.
Oh my gosh.
And it had the art in it was amazing. It was great to see.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's going to Vegas and buying a dripping Rubik's Cube for $10,000.
Yeah.
That's just wild to me. But they did have, I think, the next one, these things, which were like the melting suckers.
Yeah.
They had one that was 2 stories tall. That was $10,000 for that one. You could buy a miniature version that was like 5 feet tall for $1,000. But it was wild to see that.
Wow. Tom Savage says, I solve a Rubik's Cube once a day as a form of meditation. That's so cool. And I think I saw you post a month or two ago that you learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube and you were like, thanks, YouTube. And I want to ask you about that because I've always wondered, is it just an algorithm where like, no matter how messed up it is, if you just do this pattern enough times, eventually it'll Rubik's Cube itself back? I'm curious how people can do it. So this is wild. This is the new Sphere in Vegas.
Yeah, that's the Sphere. And to see it online is one thing. To actually see it in person from your hotel room, which is where this is from, was another thing. Like, it literally is visible from anywhere in Vegas. You're walking down the strip, you can just see it poking over the top of it.
Yeah.
What I find super fascinating about this is just how engaging that whole presentation is.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize, like, everything we've shown so far is like art stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody that works somewhere that does the animations and does the artwork for all the stuff that we're seeing on that dome.
Yeah. And this is like from the freeway, right? Like, I would imagine it would be really distracting if you're driving and there's like a giant eyeball that's like looking around and stuff. That is so crazy.
Yeah. But it is like Vegas is like just bright lights shining in your face 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Wild. Every cube can be solved in 20 moves. Interesting.
I want you to do a blindfolded, Tom, where you throw it in the air and do it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring a Rubik's Cube and put that to the test when you come out here. Dave Todd says, I never finished learning Rubik's Cube pattern, but I saw someone do so in 30 seconds before in person. There are multiple simple rules to learn for each stage. Interesting. Melting a Rubik's Cube would be the only way I'd be able to solve it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I take the stickers off and just move it around.
I've tried YouTube tutorials and they're still confusing. I never tried a YouTube tutorial, but I want to say like 20 years ago, I went to like a, gosh, this was back even probably before social media so maybe this is 25 years ago, but I did go to like a message board where it was just like HTML and it had how to do it. And I was just, my eyes flipped back into my head. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do this. What's this all about?
So this is one of the hotels. I don't remember the name of it, but they have inside there 4 times a year, they switch out the decor. This was an Alice in Wonderland display.
Wow.
You can see the people in there. And this is all like real, obviously the huge flowers are just fake flowers, but there's huge flowers, huge beds of flowers all over the place as part of their like conservatory thing.
Yeah, I see the teapot and everything. That's wild.
Yeah, and they do like, this was the Alice in Wonderland theme, or Alice in Wonderland. So then in a couple months they'll switch it out to something else, which is awesome. And then this was one of our hikes in Zion. There's just, great scene of water in this river. It's kind of like where you hike to for an hour and a half just to see this.
So is this what it looks like at the top of a waterfall on the other side?
Well, it's actually like the bottom of a waterfall on the other side.
Oh.
But you have to hike up a mountain and then down a mountain and around, and then you get to this point, and it's just a beautiful area just to hang out with for a little bit. And then there's obviously, I think this is raining. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So it started raining while we were up there, so we had to hang out for a bit so we could not slip and die on the way back.
Oh, yeah. I love moments like that, though, where it looks like it's sunny and raining.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then there's like more of an overhead view of where we were driving around to. I think that's what this one is.
So this, I think I've got the Toledo mixed in with this set. I thought maybe this was part of the vacation. So that's
it. So part of the reason that I wanted to show these things when we're talking about art is, when you're thinking about your future, you're thinking about the life you want to live. One of the things that I've always wanted to do was, I'm pretty much a homebody 90% of the time, but I do want to see the rest of the world. I do want to be able to do these kinds of things. And so finding a lifestyle that allows you to go to these places and see these different things. My daughter wanted to go to a museum. She's been to the DIA before. So we were like, let's just go to the Toledo Art Museum one day. So if you've never been to the Toledo Art Museum, it's like an hour and a half away from roughly here.
Mhm.
It's not as big as the DIA, but there's still some cool stuff that's in there. Hit to the next one. Yeah, so this was one of the coolest things that I wasn't aware of is that there's the DIA has this too. There's a library at the Toledo Art Museum where they have books that are like from the 1800s. And they would show like this is what the Renaissance wallpaper would look like. And they would have actual samples of that wallpaper in these books.
Wow.
You can look it up online and see those things, but until you actually go to the library, lay a book down, flip it open, and you see those types of things, it's a completely different experience.
Absolutely.
And this was free. We had to pay $10 for parking, and that was it. We spent a good like hour and a half in the library before we even got to the actual museum because there was so much stuff. Every single one of those shelves is art books, right? So if you go to a regular library, you might see like an art section, but these are art books. So they had like 50 books on Picasso and different styles of Picasso and 50 different artists of photography and stuff. It was amazing, the wealth of knowledge. I could have spent a whole week just there looking at the books.
Yeah. So cool.
And then I took photos of a lot of the art, but I thought this was probably the most interesting piece that was there. So you walk into the museum. This is like one of the first exhibits, and you see this, and you think, is that somebody in a donkey costume?
I was going to say, is that from Pooh? Who's the...
No, that'd be from Shrek, or it could be Eeyore.
Eeyore,
right? But Eeyore, I think, was more purpley.
Oh, yeah.
It looks more like Donkey from Shrek.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a sign that's right next to it that says, inside of this donkey suit is a Venezuelan immigrant. They're here illegally. We're paying them $8 a day to be part of this display. And after the display is done, we're going to give them the money and go back to their country, and they'll be able to live a pretty decent life on the money that they've earned. So then you spend the next 15 minutes looking and be like, there's no way there's a person in here. And you're looking at like the neckline, you're looking at the feet, you're looking at all these things. 99% sure that's not a person in there. But there's 1% of me that kind of thinks like maybe there is a person in there. There was no movement.
Yeah.
There was the artist who created this did this as a piece to get people discussing some of those kinds of things. Like, what would you do for that kind of money? And is this a real person? And that kind of stuff. I thought it was really well done because everyone was stopping and doing the same thing, like looking around to figure out, is he moving? Is he breathing? Wow. Even online, people were saying it.
Tom just says you can actually dismantle a Rubik's Cube and reset it if you can't solve it. You should never remove the stickers. I think people can, break them apart or something. Dismantling it is easier than removing the stickers too. Schrodinger's cat, actually, interesting. The immigrant is both in there and not in there. Yep, absolutely. All right, so real quick, we're going to jump into Star Wars. It is my 30th anniversary. There is some new artwork that I've done. This Lando piece has ended up on a few things, including the latest cover of Journal of the Whills. Here's the exclusive Journal of the Whills for the recent Star Wars show, Vader's World, which I did for that. I wanted to share with you a little bit of my European adventures, and some of this I've shared on socials, but just to jump through, because I have some really funny stories. So getting into there, first of all, you have to realize it's my 30th anniversary of Star Wars. Everything has come to this moment celebrating my 30 years of doing official art. So it was fantastic because a town car picked us up when we got off the airport. They flew me and Casey to Germany. There was someone with a sign that says Matt Bush. I had my artwork. This town car that picks us up, there's video screens on each of the sides in the back. There's a movie screen that can move down like this. We never did it because we were talking to the person that was driving us, but I wanted to I just want to watch a movie. And that's so wild. They gave us the rock star treatment rolling into town. The whole time we were there, these posters, these billboards were everywhere, all over town. We get there. We have a dressing room that's constantly filled with food. They were so nice. One of the days, I remember they asked us and they said, hey, we want to get you something nice for dessert tomorrow. Do you like cake? And we were like, yeah, we like cake. And they're like, well, do you like cheesecake? We're like, yeah, cheesecake is cool. So the next day we go in there, they bring in this giant box and they're like, we didn't know what flavors you guys like, so we got you 10 different cheesecakes. What? It was amazing, right? It was so amazing. And so anyway, giant window displays, and it's in this place called the Pyramid in Heilbronn. It's not the Louvre. It's a lot smaller than the Louvre, but it's this beautiful place. So before the opening night, which is all VIP, I had multiple interviews with a couple TV stations, radio, newspapers, all the things. As the whole event opened, there was live music. Playing Star Wars music, but it was like swanky versions of Star Wars music. This woman had a laser violin, which was really cool. And I had 101 pieces there on display, drawings and paintings. So cool. So, by the way, there is a video that I released, I think 2 weeks ago, that shows a tour of early one morning. I got in there and I show you not just my artwork, but Robert Bailey's, and there's a bunch of other Star Wars artists that had a few pieces there. So check it out. I kind of show you backstage and the whole bit. So it's my moment, right? Everything is led to this moment. And Robert Iba, who is the CEO of the Star Wars fan club over there, as well as the editor-in-chief of the Star Wars magazine. So he's introducing me in German, and at first I didn't know what he was talking about, and I'm in the audience with everyone, but then I started hearing like West End Games and a lot of the different licensees I've worked for, and okay, he's listing all the different Star Wars stuff that I've done. So finally, and by the way, there's only, I think, 150 people there, and it was by invite only. So it's like, and there's it's the biggest bank in Germany that kind of put this thing on, but there are sponsors that are there and art collectors. It's really, really not, I feel like for me, I'm like a pop kind of like, I don't know, zany artist. It's like really nice. And I'm so grateful for the whole thing. Finally, it's my moment. And he says in German, please welcome to the stage, Matt Bush, and the Star Wars music blares. And so normally when you're backstage, there's a ramp that goes up. But for this, there was actually steps in the middle going up the front. So I just go, the energy, like I can just feel the energy. So I just go running top speed right up. And I was wearing my, I wanted to wear nice shoes. So my sisters got me, like, I don't know, 7 years ago, Birkenstock shoes, not the sandals that you see everyone has, but they're actual shoes. And so I go running top speed. My foot catches the last step. Actually, not even the step, the stage. It catches the stage. And I just launch straight into the air. And I'm a big guy, but most of my weight is up top. So I just launch through the air. And by the way, beforehand, they gave me a headset because I'm going to speak. I'm going to do a demo and the whole thing. I launch into the air and I just face plant. I haven't face planted like that since I was a kid. And the headset just like, and so it's this loud noise. Oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard. Well, I should have. So anyway, Robert's still up there and he's a little guy. So he puts his hand out and, to help me up. I probably shouldn't have taken his hand. It would have been way easier for me to just get it myself. But he gave me his hand, so I'm going to take it, right? So I take his hand. I'm laughing so hard. I take his hand, but I just keep pulling him down like there's no way he's going to help me up. Oh, my gosh. I was so embarrassed. And it was kind of great because, like, of course I face planted. Like, it was perfect. Like, there couldn't have been a worse time for it to happen. Therefore, it was like the greatest time for it to happen, Right. It was really cool. So anyway, so I got,
you can
adjusted.
Say whatever, because most of them probably didn't understand all the swear words in English.
Well, here's the funny, this is either the funny or not funny thing. So I was trying to think of something funny to say. So in everyone that I spoke to, everyone speaks English over there. But anyway, So I got up and I realized I'm wearing Birkenstocks and they're German shoes. So I say, man, what's up with these are Birkenstocks? These are supposed to be fine German shoes. I look out in the audience and everyone's just looking at me like this. I was like, oh God, did I just insult their fine German shoes? I hope not. So anyway, so I went on with it and it ended up being all right. So I didn't know this until earlier that day, but they wanted me to do a 10-minute demo. They wanted me to do a drawing. So they had this thing of paper, and they had 5 markers, black, yellow, I think orange, or no, red, blue, and I think green. So I was like, man, what do I do? Just scribbling with magic markers. And so I thought it'd be cool, since the main image was kind of half of the Vader in color that I did and half of the Vader that Robert Bailey did. I thought it'd be cool to do that. Here's the gentleman who won. He was very happy to get that. And then I signed for a few hours after that. Really, really a top-notch event. It was really, really fun. Really, really cool. This is the view from the hotel that we were staying at in Heilbronn. So anyway, so we had a couple days to kick around. This is a medieval city in Europe called, it's spelled like Rottingham, but it's like Waltenham or something. I can't pronounce it, but there's me always being a cheese ball. Speaking of balls, we had to try Schneeballen, which is like these puffy balls with like caramel and stuff. It was very delicious on the outside. It was very dry on the inside. There's me and Michael Das, who is an artist and illustrator over there. This was really funny. We were at Castle Heidelberg, and we heard that they actually have the world's biggest wine barrel in there. So Casey and I go in, and there's a bunch of people taking selfies in front of this. So we go and we take a bunch of selfies, and we're like, and part of me is like, this is kind of silly because it's really not that big. I mean, it's big, obviously, but this is really the biggest one? Like, what? So anyway, so then we turn the corner, and this is just there for, I don't know if it's just decoration, but finally we turn the corner, and it's like, oh, that's the world's biggest one. That's the biggest wine barrel. So Casey climbed up to the top of that.
Is it like used? Like they actually use it? Or is it just like the world's biggest pie tin or something?
You know what? There were so many places over there, and even Heilbronn is wine country. There's so many places we wanted to do wine tours and stuff, but Casey was 31 weeks pregnant at the time. So, I mean, I had a few drinks over there, but a lot of the wine things that we wanted to do, we just, and the day that we climbed to the top of that hill to get into the castle, we were just thirsty, you know, so sometimes like you just want water. So we didn't get any wine there. So I don't know. They did have wine there, but I don't know if it's actually stored. And maybe it is. Maybe that's the world's largest still working wine barrel. This is U Reber, who is another Star Wars artist, really, really good friend of mine for years and years and years. And he took us on a tour of his hometown, which is called Schwäbisch Hall. And this was a few days later. This was my drawing workshop. So there was something amazing that happened. It was a workshop. They limited it to 40 people. It was sold out. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. I kind of just winged it because I didn't know what's the level. I knew there was going to be kids there. So I thought I would start with something relatively easy, and I would talk about how to draw things out of basic shapes. So here's R2-D2, basic cylinder. A lot of people get the dome. You can see over here, some people draw the dome too flat or too long. But if you actually just put a sphere in the middle, the top half of the sphere is the perfect shape for R2-D2's head. Anyway, so I'm talking about R2-D2 and how you can make different ones and everything. And I kid you not, I'm halfway through this, and I hear down the hallway, and I was like, what? And I can hear more than, I'm like, that sounds like R2 units. True story. R2-D2 and R2-KT came to visit, and I had no idea this was happening. No one told me about it. And I just decided I would start with drawing astromech droids. It was so perfect. And it was really neat because I was talking about the perspective and drawing different angles. everyone lost it when the R2 units, everyone's taking selfies and stuff. But the cool thing was, then they could really see after going, it was kind of cool that they weren't there at first. And I was really going over like cylinders and spheres and everything. And then once they came in, you could see people were really looking at the different angles and taking photos. And it was a magical, perfect moment.
It turned into a figure class is what it did.
Yeah, it did. And then there were people there in cosplay, and a bunch of people said they wanted to learn tips on drawing the human face. There were troopers there and everything, which I was hoping I would get to. But so there was someone there cosplaying as Jin Urso. So I went over tips for that. Here's me going around helping the students. It was just really, really cool. There is Christian Cass, another really good friend of mine. He actually was there. He's writing an article for the next Star Wars magazine about the workshop. Which is really neat. And he, as a gift, he gave me an original Star Wars paperback from Germany, which is just so cool. So I've got it in the library upstairs. I signed straight for 6 hours. It was really, really cool. Some people brought their own like books, posters that they had of mine. They also had stuff there. They had magazines, they had art prints, all kinds of stuff that I'll probably show you guys next time, just for the sake of time. It was really, really cool. The lines just kept going and going. And I know a lot of you might think like, oh man, I would love to just sign autographs for 6 hours. Until you do it, like, it's not like my hand hurt, but like you're trying to, like, for each person that comes up, you want to be respectful and they tell you what to write, but you're also looking at people that are just standing and they've been waiting forever and you're also trying to get through. And so everything you do, if you even stop to take a drink, that's people that have to wait for that, so it's not really stressful, but signing for 6 hours isn't as it isn't as plush as it's not as glamorous as
especially
as
when you can see
think.
the line of people who are just waiting to get in there.
Yeah, and thank goodness everyone was so patient and so friendly. This is just a little humor for us WT Americans. So when you're in Germany, almost everywhere you see signs. Usually it doesn't say that part, and so Casey and I were giggling every time we saw Ausfont. And we didn't know what it was at first. We finally, I think we chat GPT'd it, and it said that it means exit. But anyway, so there's a little stupid American idiot humor for you. So then it was off to Switzerland, Fiji, of course, helping. Driving through mountains and stuff. I'm a really, really cautious driver, so my eyes stay glued to the road. But look how teal that water is. And this is at the top of Mount Rigi near Lucerne that we climbed. Of course, you have to get fondue when you're in Switzerland. Here's Casey with Freddie Mercury statue. We went to the Montreux Jazz Festival. The day we were there, Lenny Kravitz was playing. And I've never seen Lenny Kravitz, always wanted to. We knew he was going to be there when we planned the trip, but tickets were already sold out. So no luck there. So we went to... what's the name of the cheese? Gruyere. We went to Gruyere, Switzerland. And when we were at the bottom of this hill, we could hear all of these cowbells, clankety, clank, clank, clank. And I was like, gosh, it sounds like cowbells. And Casey was like, that's way too many. That's got to be something else that's making that noise. So we climbed to the top, and sure enough, there's like cows all over the place. And we took so many photos. But looking at the photos, doesn't it look fake? Like we're really just standing in front of a
green screen, for
It's
sure.
a green screen, but like... that was the legit photo. So one of my favorite things of this trip, when I found out I was going to Switzerland, it's always been a dream of mine to check out the Geiger Museum. H.R. Geiger has always been, especially when I was in college, one of my favorite artists. He designed like the look of the aliens, and he got an Academy Award for it and everything. This museum and the Geiger Bar did not disappoint. I have a lot more photos I'll show of it next time, but look at this amazing like boardroom with like the alien chairs and everything. This place was amazing. I can't, man, I'm going to have a whole thing talking about it. So I'll do that next time. Me, of course, always being a cheese ball. Every time I look and see something with forced perspective, I just have to be an idiot. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much, but we ended up getting, when we had a layover from Germany into Amsterdam. That was right when the Microsoft thing happened. So we were stranded in Amsterdam for 2 days. And then it took us another 3 days to get home after that because the airports were all screwed up. Anyway, the first 2 days were great, except we were on an airplane on the runway for 4 hours, then in an airport for an hour and a half. So that wasn't fun. But the next 2 days, Amsterdam was a riot, had a blast. Then the next 3 days was airport hell. We did make it into Boston, but we had our layover was 3 hours. The plane was delayed 12 hours. And 8 hours in, we just decided to look on Google just to make sure it was still going. Of course it wasn't. It was canceled. No notification, no text, no email, no announcement, no nothing. So that night, tried to rent a car. No cars available anywhere in Boston. We ended up taking an electronic vehicle home, which was really interesting. But we had
scooters?
No. But I was prepared. Like literally, our options were out. I was like, do we just go to Target and buy bicycles and like just start getting like towards home? Casey's pregnant though, so I don't really want her riding a bike. So finally someone agreed to let us take an electronic vehicle. That was a whole thing too. It took us 25 hours instead of 14 hours to get home. But anyway, glad to be home safe and sound. But that was the trip. However, what I really want to talk about is you were saying it would be really cool to talk about different art careers and careers in art. There's so many different things, but in particular, kind of like back to what it was like for both of us when we were in high school. What were we thinking? And that, what are expectations and what are things that people should think about, especially if they're younger, if they're in high school, or now they're coming into this crossroads of college and different ways to break into the industry. So, I wanted to chat about that.
We had different high school experiences. At your wedding, I think I talked to your cousin, and all he could talk about was how great of an illustrator you were ever since you were young, and you were drawing stuff, and you would give them drawings, and it was like amazing. My high school experience didn't include art. So like I was in a track where if you've heard of STEAM or you've heard of STEM or any of that, our high school was like one of the first high schools to have like a STEAM or STEM program. Not STEAM, it was just STEM.
And STEM stands for
science, technology, engineering, and math. Okay. So we had a cohort of people. So my ninth grade, I was actually in classes with 10th graders where we would take CAD classes. We take advanced math and advanced science. Pretty much everyone in my group was going off to be engineers. There were going to be people who would work in CAD and in engineering fields. Some probably went into medical or whatever. They never interested me. I had no interest in doing that. Part of our group, our cohort of people, was we had to do these projects every year. So one year we had to actually make a video on how you would compost stuff. So my job, I don't know how I got it, but I was the videographer. So I was like the person who had to set up the camera shots for everyone. I would do all the recording for people. I'd have the mic set up, and then we would have to edit the videos. And the editing of videos back in the day, if you weren't familiar with it, was you would have this fancy VCR, and you would put your tape in here. You would mark your in point. You would mark your out point. You'd say go, and it would play the video on this screen and send it over to this tape while it was recording. So you couldn't like just move stuff around like you can nowadays. Yeah. You had to do this very long process. That was horrible. However, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing this project kind of come through. So I'm like, you know what? I really want to do something creative. So even in my CAD classes, we did our CAD projects, then we would have like some extra time, and they had Photoshop on the computers, which was like Photoshop 3, not CS3 or CC3, but like Photoshop actual 3. And we would play around with that. I love doing that. And then they had 3D Studio Max, and I played around with 3D Studio Max. I'm like, this is a lot of fun. And so I realized I wanted to do something creative. I didn't want to do something that was wireframes from one perspective of car parts for the rest of my life,
Right.
Or dealing with high levels of math or high levels of science. So I really wanted to find something that was creative. And it's funny because, as you know, us 30-year-olds, you know, we look back at our high school time and our college time and the people that kind of influenced us. I remember that I went through an early college registration thing where you had to register on campus, and they actually had things where you could talk to different people in different departments. And Brian was actually there.
Okay.
So I told him, I said, hey, like I did this 3D stuff in school. I really enjoyed it. Like, do you have that? And Brian sold me on the program. He said, yeah, we don't have 3D yet, but we do have Photoshop. We do have Illustrator. We do have all these other programs. So like start there. And I was hooked. The second I started getting into those classes, it was something where I enjoy this. I enjoy being able to take something from nothing and actually make it into something else. And I think that's how I found where my stuff was. So I was actually a late bloomer to like the whole art world. Like I had no idea about what was even possible. And then once you get into it, you realize like, hey, art is actually everywhere. And there's so many people that will utilize the stuff that we're doing. Just as a, for instance, one of my neighbors, he's retired, and he wanted to get into like doing musical performances at like senior livings and different events. So this summer, one of the projects I did was I helped him like record himself performing and edit the video together. So now he has like a little demo that he can send out to people, right? So like little things like that that you don't really realize are out there. I have another, this is a client that I work with. They're selling car charging stations. You mentioned electric vehicles. So they sell car charging stations to different places. So I help put together a presentation that help them show off, these are what we have, and this is how much they cost, and these are the warranties, and these are all the stuff. So like there's little silly things like the musical one. There's more serious ones like the car charging one. But realistically, the careers are everywhere. Yeah. And when we talk about careers, I'm not talking about specifically there's this one job that will do all these things. I'm talking about you can make a living off of this kind of stuff. You can make a living doing art in 1,000 different ways. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. There's more artists in the entire world than there are any other career. And I think people really do enjoy doing something creative. That's why so many people want to be influencers, because they want to do something creative. They want to go out there and share what they have. Yeah. And while other people like are consumers, they love to consume art. Yeah. And artists love to consume art too.
Yeah. And there's a saying that when you find something you're passionate about, all you want to do is share it with others. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are so attracted to becoming an influencer. But it's like, if you think about it, anytime if there's a new video game or if there's a new show that you're watching that is amazing, no one ever watches a new amazing show and then like doesn't tell anyone about it. Like the first thing you do, my God, did you watch The Acolyte? Did you see episode 5? Off the hook? No, dude, I'm telling you, you got to watch it. Wait till episode 5. It's some of the best Star Wars. Like you have to tell people about it, you know?
And there's levels of engagement too. So I like to use, I love music. For most of my stuff, I've realized through my TikTok diagnosis that I probably have some form of ADHD or something like that, just because I like a lot of different things. So I use music. So sometimes we'll listen to a song on the radio, and our level of engagement with that song might be that we listen to that song and that's it. We take it a step further. We want to be a little bit more involved in that song, right? So what do? Maybe you hum along to it. Maybe you tap your fingers to it, or you smack the steering wheel. Yeah. Maybe you start singing the song. Maybe you're so like engaged with that song that you actually want to learn how to play it on the piano or the guitar or the whatever. Yeah. Or maybe you have a band and you want to sing that song. Or maybe that song takes you into a different realm and you want to create your own version of that song or your own spin-off of that song.
Yeah, your own music video for that song.
Right. Or you're an artist and you hear something in the song, you're like, you know what, that reminds me of when I broke up with whoever. I want to draw this picture that's been inspired by that song
Yeah.
to create that. And so I think art is one of those things where it's not like you create it and it's done. It's something where you create it and you kind of feed this like world of art. And that's one of the things when we talked about AI, I think last time, it just can't do that, right? It can create a song, yes, but it can't feed emotions. It can't feed off of us and what we're thinking. It doesn't have that, where we do. Where if you say, I did this beautiful painting based on this song that I heard, and these lyrics here inspired me to draw that, that builds that connection with that. Yeah. And somebody is going to buy something like that because they also feel the connection to that song and how you visualized it. And they're going to give that, you know, that artwork a little bit more credence than if, you know, I typed in make a piece of artwork off this song.
Yeah. Word prompts.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a huge misnomer that art is just pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. Right? Art is music. Art is music videos. Art is the artwork that's on your arcade systems here.
Yeah.
It's on every single thing that we do. Every single thing we enjoy in life.
Yeah.
Is art.
I mean, it's crazy now. I never used to think of this until recently, but even like food has suddenly become art. And it's not just about, you know, it was always art to a degree because you're entertaining with taste. But like now, like I feel like food is so much about presentation and all those shows, because those shows you can't taste it, but you can see what it looks like. And presentation is everything. It has become an art form. Yeah.
Think about Ratatouille. You know, there's a scene in Ratatouille where the food critic tastes the food. And did you see the movie?
I mean, it's been a long time. But
yeah. So he tastes this food that the rat made. And what does it do? It sends him back to his childhood where he remembers those things that happened like in his mom's kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is something that artists do, whether it's cooking or music or drawings or animations or whatever it is. We're always pulling in from these different experiences, and we're using those to help connect people.
Yeah.
Right. So that food that rat created for that food critic helped him connect to memories of like him being in the kitchen with his mom eating like this ratatouille that was just like unforgettable. And I think that's something that artists are capable of doing.
Yeah. I think about this a lot. There's a commercial. It's like a 15-second commercial for Amazon. And I haven't seen it in a while, but and maybe this was 2 years ago when it came out. But within 15 seconds, it would make me cry every time. And I'd be on the treadmill running and just like, oh my God. And it's this, maybe you've seen it. It's the Asian couple that have a dog and they're playing with the dog. Well, then the Asian couple have a baby. You can tell the dog is kind of jealous and stuff. And there's a moment where they're taking photos of the baby. And I think the baby has like a lion costume or something like that. But they notice the dog like looking around the corner and it just like walks away. So then they hop on Amazon.com. You don't see what they're ordering yet, but then the delivery comes and it's a lion costume for the dog. And now the dog is in on all the fun or whatever. Every time that stupid dog in a lion costume and like tears down my face. And I'm like, in 15 seconds, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's the goal, is to make people feel something.
Yeah. And a lot of that too is like when you tell that story of, you know, this couple with the baby and the dog and the costume, there's a right way to tell it, which is what they did, because they were they drew out your emotions for that. Had they told that story differently, had they, you know, made a big deal and said, oh, the dog's, you know, looking pretty sad, we'll buy him a costume instead. Here you go. And they just throw it on him.
Yeah.
The emotional connection is not there.
Yeah.
You know, and a little trick for the people, if you watch a lot of movies and, you know, they're kind of tear jerkers, right before the big tear jerking scene where you're like bawling, typically there's like something funny that happens.
Yeah.
So they will push you to that line.
And that's the release.
They will sell you a joke, and then that joke kind of opens you up, and then it starts hitting you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You watch it in all the Pixar movies.
Yeah.
I love sappy romantic comedy movies.
I do too. It is a really neat art form, and a lot of it is about what they show you and what they don't show you at very specific times. when the reveal is and stuff. It's so cool. I love all of it. And there's ways to do that in movies. There's ways to do that in comic books. There's ways to do that in children's books. All the things. There's always an art to it.
Yeah, we're rewatching Lost right now. So it's such a good series.
Greatest show of all time.
Yeah.
If you ask me. First 5 seasons.
But
at least.
we also always put the subtitles on, and the subtitles are kind of ruining it. Because what'll happen is when you're not supposed to know who's talking, they'll say Ben says blah blah blah. Like well, no one's supposed to know it's Ben yet because they haven't introduced him or something. So like that kind of ruins it. But the storytelling in Lost is great because they have, especially that you have to be a pretty decent director editor to understand how do you tell this linear story that you're telling is the present time. Plus, how do I also relate it to the previous stuff? How much do I show? How much don't I show? And then later on, obviously, you get the future stuff that you're also trying to tie in with. Yeah. It's a definite balancing act. Yeah. And if you haven't seen Jack, like, watch that. That's very well done. Yeah. For editing and everything. Because if you watch it and you listen to it, you will actually feel a rhythm of how the edits are happening and how the piece is coming together. You have, from the time we're born to, where we're experiencing something right now, you will have a spot where you just subconsciously pick up on things. So as you're watching it, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know something is going to happen. You get this like rhythm of editing that happens, and then all of a sudden there's a cut, and then there's a little bit of time, and then you feel that editing happening again. And so you get ready for all of this stuff. And it helps you, again, stay connected to those pieces.
I just put a post in the comments. Look for Jack comedy roll on YouTube, and you'll find this video that we are chatting about. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I would say for me, I knew that I wanted to do something creative very, very early on. My problem was I didn't know what, because I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to illustrate comic books. I wanted to design video games. I wanted to make movies, children's books, like everything. And the weird thing was, especially back then, growing up, I was told you pick one thing to master. Anything else is spreading yourself too thin. So that like kind of gave me anxiety. Like, if I pick comic books, I'm basically saying no to everything else. But if I pick video games, now I'm saying no to everything else. And I was like, I didn't know what that one thing was. But the thing that was great, especially when I went to Macomb, and we had the same department, it was called graphic and commercial art at the time. But it was fantastic because there were foundation classes that everyone takes. And that really gave me a taste of design, of photography, of all the different things. And that kind of helped me narrow things down, at least a little bit. Because also there was music was like a big thing. And oh my gosh.
Well, and a lot of it depends on, too, like, what do you want to work on the most? Like writing for some people seems like I want to be a writer. And what are they working with, right? They're working with the written word, right? So they're constantly writing stuff here, but they're never seeing what the end result looks like, or they have to sell the end result or anything like that. Where when you work at multiple facets, you can be the writer and the director and the videographer and the editor, and you're able to put all those things together. Yeah. So for me, that was another thing. Like when in high school, you're working on cars, you're working on like one drawing of one part of one vehicle. Mm-hmm. In what we do now, we can work on a piece from start to finish, and it's completely ours. Yeah. Right. And it's something that the world has never seen before. And it's super exciting to see this thing just get created within a couple days or a couple weeks. So I'm sure that, you have that sense of reward for your movie too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, if only I knew, if there's anything, I was so, I don't know. I was so like, I wanted to know what my future was going to be. And I was really, I knew at an early age that I would rather be living in a cardboard box, but doing what I love, as opposed to being the richest person on the planet, but like hating my life. And just like every time the alarm clock goes off, like, oh, wow, another day of board meetings or whatever, that I'm not, thrilled about. But if I could go back in time, I wish I could just say, bro, like, you've got it. Stay with it, stay determined, but like, it's all good. One of the things I wanted to share to segue into the next thing, and I'm going to go over these in greater detail, but during the time I was a student, one of the things I used to do, I didn't know anything about comic books. Now you can Google, this is before the internet, so you can Google like the size comic books are and the tools that you would use. I literally just used typing paper, and I would draw and I would Xerox these, and I would make these comic books, and I would make a new one each month. I would hand deliver them to comic book stores, and these were great. Now this is issue 5. The amount of improvement from issue 0 to issue 5 is so crazy good. And then I think I did, I don't know, maybe another 5 issues from this that get even better than this. This was such a great learning experience for me, not just drawing.
Let's zoom in right here.
Oh gosh. Yeah, this is on another planet. Why would there even be Christmas? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So my storytelling wasn't all that great yet, but I was learning. I was learning drawing. I was learning storytelling, all the things. In the back, I didn't even have a P.O. box. Like, people would send mail to my parents' house, and I would answer questions. It was really, really cool. Anyway, this was such a great learning experience for me, and there were some other students back then that were inspired by it and trying to do it. Haven't seen a lot of this since then, but you turned me on to a few people that I wanted to chat about who are doing it already. So tell me about these people.
So these are relatives. So I get to give them a plug.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about this. But this is Abby Haywood. So she's a Grand Rapids artist. So she would have gone to Macomb, but obviously she lives in Grand Rapids.
Uh-huh.
So she took their stuff.
Is she going to Kendall?
She is going to Grand Valley.
Grand Valley?
Yeah.
Okay.
So part of her journey is while she was in high school, she knew she wanted to do art. She's been drawing forever. And, you know, her mom is a crafter. So she does sewing and crochet and all the other types of stuff. But she loves drawing. So she started drawing her own zines. And what you're seeing there is her zines. And what they are, the top right one is her Naked and Afraid, which is her introduction to her figure drawing class. So if you're not familiar with it, in figure drawing class, you draw naked people.
Right.
And so that was like her wide opening, like, okay, we're actually going to draw a naked person just sitting in the middle of my classroom. This is very weird.
Yeah.
And so it's about her experience in doing that. So it's like leading up to it, what happened during the class, and then what happened, you know, obviously afterwards. And then she just took that one and did an animated story. So there's like voiceovers, and then they kind of animated the cells of the story, which is really good.
Yeah.
So she sells all those things. There's also one she has like making a phone call with anxiety.
Yeah.
And going out to eat with anxiety. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of anxiety nowadays.
Yeah.
And this is, again, something that can relate to people and something that they can connect with. So this was at Sterling Fest. If you don't know what Sterling Fest is, it's a 3-day fair that Sterling Heights has in end of July. And she sets up a booth there and she sells all of her zines. These are all her custom stuff. I don't know if the next one you have or other stuff. Yep. And then this is the big attraction. So she does this photo booth.
Yeah.
And so what she does is you put your $10 into this little slot, and she will have a conversation with you while she draws little caricatures of you and your partner if you have 2 people there.
That is amazing.
Yeah. She has it's 3-day event. It's like 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning until 9 at night.
Yeah.
She is busy pretty much that entire time with people wanting drawings. And people will wait and wait and wait.
Yeah.
Now she's making over, this 3-day event.
Yeah.
She's making at least $1,000 from just doing this kind of stuff.
Wow.
That's how you make money. That's how you are able to make this, because you have the fortitude to go through and actually make this thing.
Yeah.
Where obviously you could say, well, no one's going to buy it or no one's going to like it or whatever. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
But like you said, you learned a lot from this.
Oh yeah. through a lot of errors, a lot of trial and error. Yeah.
And her photo booth there, just by talking to someone, they actually want to hire her out for a wedding. So she would go to someone's wedding.
That's awesome.
And set up the same kind of thing and then draw the guests and then scan them in so that the bride and groom will have a copy of each thing. But it's such a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's very attractive to people. Go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then there's some of her other artwork there. Obviously, Mario and Luigi are more fan art, but then she has other ones that are her style of artwork that she created.
Yeah.
Now, that's obviously like when we talk about a career in the arts and we're talking about making a living off of what we're doing, something we have to think about is like what sells, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you may not know that the first show that you do or the second show that you do, but
Right.
gradually you kind of pick up on what people are buying.
Right.
Same thing with your YouTube, same thing with your TikTok and Instagram. What are people looking for?
Yeah.
So personally, I enjoy seeing fan art stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like people can connect with it more. I love Mario, so I'm going to buy Mario artwork, or I love Luigi or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will buy original artwork, but it's kind of like rare. Like I really have to understand the characters or understand the artist.
Yeah.
So obviously that you have those kinds of things. It has to be like a really cool style, and she
Mhm.
obviously does for
Yeah.
those pieces.
Oh yeah.
And she's working on right now a mural for this camp that's in their city.
Uh-huh.
It's basically like a 20-foot by 7-foot or 8-foot tall wall that she's using her style of artwork
Wow.
and drawing all these kids like playing
Yeah.
as her mural. So she's doing that over the next month.
That's so cool.
Yep. And she wouldn't have that if she didn't have the zines and she didn't have all the stuff that we're seeing here.
Yeah. You know, I had your wife posted, I think, I can't remember, it must have been the animated thing, but the Naked and Afraid thing, I saw the thing that she posted.
Mm-hmm.
Love the artwork, but also I was really impressed with the story. And I was impressed with it because at first I was because I teach figure drawing, my first instinct was like, hey, you're not like ragging on, because figure drawing is really important. And I don't want to spoil it because you should go check it out. But the way that it ends and the advice from mom that it ends with, it was really good. And it was really positive, and it was just good on every level. It was definitely better than my rating was, or like, I don't know what I wanted. I think because I'm a boy, when I first started with writing and stuff, everything was just action. And to me, it was really easy to do monthly comics because it's just like action, action, action. As soon as you get to page 24, to be continued. And then the next issue, action, 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 to be continued, where really good writing is like, okay, how is this going to end? What's the message? What are you trying to say? What's the, metaphors and everything else? And so I was really, really impressed, not just with the artwork, but the writing I thought was really, really good.
Yeah. And she also has like an Instagram set up. She has stores set up. So like she's already understanding the process of taking her artwork, creating it in a medium that she can sell.
Mm-hmm.
Garfield stuff is huge right now. So she's tapped into the Garfield market already.
Yeah.
We have some of her hats and stuff that she's done with Garfield, and people love it and want to buy them. She does patches and all this other stuff too, which is really awesome.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And then this is my nephew on my brother's side. His name is Dawson Sarcona, and he's an artist. He doesn't have his online store yet, I don't think. But he's another one. He likes a lot of fan art, so you're going to see some of his fan art stuff. But this is his own character he's created. And he has a very cool style where he does pencil work, marker work, and acrylic paint on top of his canvas. And it's a very unique style compared to obviously what we just saw with Abby's stuff, which looks more digital, right, in some cases, or traditionally drawn and then scanned in and colored. So you go to the next one there. So there's an example of his Spider-Punk stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll sell prints of these all day long.
Yeah.
So same thing, like over the 3 days, he's made at least $1,000
Wow.
from doing these kinds of things.
That's so cool.
Abby's in college. Dawson here, he's still in high school.
Wow.
So he'll be a senior this coming year.
Yeah.
But he'll create all of these things, and he just started his own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think it's called Dawson Draws.
Okay.
Or Have You Met Dawson? That's what it's called.
Nice.
He loves Have You Met? No. What's it called?
Oh, How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So he loves that show, so that's what it's based on. There's another one.
So cool. And is that on an actual Darth Vader helmet?
No, that's just a painting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not painted on a helmet?
I don't believe so. I think that's a painting of a helmet.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And so I have like a lot of his stickers and posters and stuff. Abby's stuff is amazing. But again, I like the fan art stuff is more my alley. I love Abby's books because they're so cool.
Yeah.
But then I like the pop art stuff.
Yeah.
And then he also draws on, I don't think I have any pictures of this, but he draws on records. So he bought a bunch of like old 45s.
Yeah.
And he'll actually do paintings on the 45s and then sell those too.
Nice. That's brilliant.
Yep.
So cool.
But he's learning how to make a living off of doing this. He's tried working at a company and doing the thing that you do when you're 16, 17 years old and waiting tables and bussing tables and all that stuff. He's like, I hate doing this. It's just not fun at all. It's not creative.
Yeah.
I want to do something creative.
Yeah.
And so he's already learning how to build a market.
Yeah.
He's getting followers on all these sites. He's getting views on all these sites.
Yeah.
And, he's fortunate enough now that obviously he doesn't need to pay his bills, so he can build that following and build all these skills that he needs.
That is awesome. And I'll tell you what, it's never too early to start doing things like that. And so I'm usually telling people, especially in my area with illustration, it's never too early to start getting, even if you're not making a lot of money, there are resources like the Graphic Artists Guild where you can do spot illustrations for periodicals or anything just to get some experience. At first, you're not going to be able to pay your rent with it, but it's experience, it's resume, it's portfolio. If you can have a portfolio of actual work and not just school assignments, like you're already ahead of the game with that. So that's fantastic that they're already getting experience with clients, doing
freelance stuff,
and commissions and everything.
Well, that's the thing too. Like both him and Abby have both gotten people that have looked at their stuff and said, "Oh, could you draw this for me?" And they're getting commissions based off of that.
Yep.
So, and I think we both see that there's so many students that have a great ability to draw or to illustrate or animate or any of those things, but they don't know that other part. They don't know that selling part. They don't know how to target something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think obviously you can take a class on those things too, which would help. But a lot of it is just start doing stuff. Just start making your own magazine or posting your own stuff or finding ways to make revenue off of this.
Yeah.
Because it's, there's only so many pictures we can put around our house before we realize we should probably be selling this stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. We got some comments real quick. Dave Todd says, becoming a writer while hating writing, not advisable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Premise Land, hey, what is going on, Ted? Thank you for joining us. Rock and roll. So Adobe Max. So tell us about this.
So this is one of those resources that I think is, there's the formal schooling, like obviously we teach at Macomb, but then there's stuff like this. Part of your journey should be getting involved and getting engaged, whether it is going to the museum, even in another state, even the DIA, even the Mount Clemens, different things that they have there, any of those things. But if you still don't want to leave home, go to Adobe Max. October is when they have Adobe Max. It is a week-long online free streaming service where you could watch all of these different people from across the world get together and talk about how they use the Adobe software. And obviously we use the Adobe software in a lot of our classes and a lot of our industry, but you'll hear stories outside of us. Like we're in Macomb County. That's where our college is. all of us, most of us live in Macomb County. I think Bill's the only one who lives in Oakland. But our experiences for the most part are pretty localized to what you see here. One of the stories, this is just, I heard it at one of the Adobe Max ones. I thought it was really awesome because it connected with what we did, but it was so on the other side of the world. This was a student who was in China, and this girl's parents said, she wanted to go into art, and they said, nope, there's no money in art. You got to go into marketing. You got to go into business, something like that. And that's what she did. And she spent like 2 years doing this job, and she hated every minute of it. So she said, you know what? I'm going to try it. She took her savings, moved to America, started taking classes in America at a New York art school, and is now this awesome illustrator. Now, she could have stayed in marketing. That could have been a safe bet for her, and she could have spent the rest of her life in this safe job. But she had this yearning inside of her, like, I want to be creative. I want to draw stuff. I have so much in me. I want to get out. And she wouldn't have got that. And I wouldn't have heard that story unless I was listening to, those Max stories. And I think it's just awesome because they have so many different stories like that. On top of, they'll do something like, here's a logo idea. I want you to draw the logo and make it into a sticker. And someone will go through and they'll show you, not step by step, but process by process of how they get from the beginning of it, illustrating it, sketching it out, putting it into the software, and then printing it out as a sticker. And it's just amazing. So I encourage you, anytime you see an event like this, go to it if it's free, of course. If you have the money to actually travel to where Adobe Max is, even more engaging. I've been to a couple conferences that are just awesome. What sucks is they're always through the school or during the school year, so it's harder to take that time off.
Yeah.
But then share those things. Tell people about them. This one's awesome. There's
Lightroom Expo is another one.
Lightroom Expo. The AIG has one. The SIGGRAPH is another one. Some of these charge, but I'm someone who is like, your education is the one thing you should spend money on, right? Because there's so much stuff that you could learn. You're not going to learn anywhere else. SIGGRAPH already happened, so you can't do that one. But SIGGRAPH is one that, since they put it online, I didn't do it this year because other stuff, but every year I try to catch it and see what they're doing, because you'll hear from the people that made the movie, this is what we were thinking during that movie making process. And you don't get that by watching the movie only or seeing the behind the scenes, because this is the actual artist who created those things. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of resources out there like Adobe Max that, take advantage of those. Yeah.
All right, real quick, I want to shift gears and tell you everything that's going on under the hood for ALADDIN 3477. As you guys know, I signed with a distributor earlier this year who still hasn't been named, because I think there's going to be a press release and everything else. Very excited about that. So what is happening right now? It is going through this process called quality control. You can pretty much guess what that is, but it's very specific for films, and it is absolutely fascinating how it works. So I wanted to share some of that with you. Premise Land says, congrats. Thank you so much. So I wanted to give you guys some examples of what's happened. So the first time it went through, what they do, at least what this distribution company is doing, they're putting it through Apple TV's, the same service that they use for quality control, because Apple TV has the highest standard. So if you can pass Apple TV, you're good to go with any of the other platforms. So right before, just a couple days before I went on my European trip, it actually came back sooner than I thought it was going to, and it failed. So at first I was like, oh no, it fails all the time. It always fails. And there was a bunch of things that it caught. So you either have to fix the things or you have to plead your case and say why you did a certain thing. So one of them here is sometimes I like to do jump cuts. I like to do like Edgar Wright, quick cutting. Well, sometimes when they're watching, they're like, was that creative or is that a mistake? Did they? Because you don't know. So in these cases, these were not mistakes. It was supposed to be jump cuts. This one I thought was so fascinating. So there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where these two characters, Harshad and Pradeep, they go in and they're meeting the Darshana Shailaja, and it's this cyborg with 6 arms, very beautiful. And Pradeep, they're bowing, but Pradeep kind of looks up and he's mesmerized. And I remember when we filmed this, the actor Irfan Sheikh, I said, you're like mesmerized and you've heard like the legend of the Darshana, but like, so you think it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but also she decides your fate. So it's kind of, you're just like in awe of the whole situation. So during the takes, when he slowly looks up, he just started, without making a sound, he started mouthing out, I don't know what, if it's a chant or if he's mouthing out like, it's so incredible. I don't know what he was saying, but it was so awesome. And so I was like, yeah, keep doing that. That's great. Well, this actually got flagged and it said missing dialogue, even though it's supposed to be that way. So that was something that I was like, no, it's a creative choice. He's just moving his mouth. There isn't supposed to be dialogue. But I was so impressed, like, and it really makes you think like, gosh, like I know it's supposed to be that way, but yeah, I can see how someone watching it might be like, was he saying something? Were we supposed to hear that? You know, right. So that was really interesting. Lots of things like that.
Insanely thorough too.
Oh my gosh, so thorough. So anyway, so that went in, and then another thing came back. It was all of the subtitles, and that got a fail as well. And it had all these different things, and I was like, the subtitles? Because I actually approved them. I went in and I watched them all. So one of them, this is my fault. Someone is explaining, you take the East, I'll take the West. And I capitalized East and West. And it says here, East and West don't need to be capitalized. So that got a no, red flag, or a red 4 means it's a complete fail. So that has to be fixed. What is this one? Oh, this was interesting. So this takes place in the future, and like Star Wars, there are sometimes robots that speak in a robot language, sometimes subtitles, sometimes not. So you could imagine sometimes there might be a robot character in Star Wars that you would meet that says, and there'll be subtitles, right? Well, sometimes R2-D2 never has subtitles. You can always kind of get, or like Wall-E, right. You kind of know what they're saying, and that's part of the fun. Well, there are certain characters, certain like robotic bounty hunters, where sometimes I want you to know what they're saying, and sometimes either I don't want you to know, or it's just not necessary. And I feel like it
doesn't move the story.
It almost ruins it if like what they're saying is so like,
how are you today?
Yeah, or like if someone gets hit and what they're probably saying is like, ouch, that hurt. But if you really put ouch, that hurt, it just looks like that kind of ruins it. It's better if you hear, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. That's just a little better. So anyway, so this found every single place where a character says something somewhere, but then didn't somewhere else. And so therefore there's an inconsistency, and it flags that. So hopefully they'll be okay. There's ones that were mistakes, but most of them were creative. And this one here, this was interesting. Again, this is actually something it found. It says, missing as guard shouts to the other guard after trapping woman with his weapon. This is actually something, even though I watched through all of the subtitles, looking at the script and also the time code, I had everything listed out, and somehow just watching the action, I missed that they didn't get the subtitles in here. So this was, I'm really glad that they found that. So super interesting, the process that it's going through now. In the meantime, there's just a couple more executive producers that are going to be watching screenings. I am also hard at work on the art of Aladdin 3477. I am having so much fun putting this art book together. It's a hardcover coffee table art book. Certain people in the Kickstarter are getting this. Also, you can order this at the pre-sale store. But this art book, I think it's my 6th art book to date. I've never been more excited for an art book. And the reason why, a lot of my other art books, like if it has Star Wars or Stranger Things or some of that stuff, so proud that I got to work on a lot of that. But It's not mine. I didn't create Boba Fett. And so this art book has everything from scribbles on napkins all the way to like finished art. And so it really is kind of a look, for better or worse, a look inside my head and just seeing the process of how ideas were generated and the whole thing. So I cannot wait. I'm having a blast putting this book together. Here's the real quick story that I wanted to share with you guys that I just found out about today. So, okay, going back in time a little bit, some of you might remember this because I talked about it a little bit. When creating the figure for Aladdin over in China, the first version of the figure was going to look like this. Originally, he was going to come with the Lamp of Wisdom, and then he had this kind of gold vest. Right before they sent me the figures, I didn't know that the gold vest was going to be super shiny, and his vest is not like a shiny gold, but they already made thousands of these figures. So I was like, it looks cool, whatever. I didn't read, because this is just a computer mock-up. It looks like a photo, but it's just a computer rendering. So I didn't know that the vest was all shiny all over there. Anyway, so I was happy with it. Well, Customs in Detroit detained these figures, and they said, you're not allowed to have knockoff Star Wars figures. And I was like, these aren't Star Wars figures. They're like, we know what Han Solo looks like. So I had to send them photos. Well, I mean, the beard,
Right.
So I sent them photos of Eric in the costume. Doesn't matter. Anyway, they destroyed the figure. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was awful. So anyway, so I had to have new figures made. Well, in having new figures made, and I was also like, what happens if someone discovers these? Or what if they go to throw them away and someone like takes them and like you find them on eBay? So I wanted to have them a little bit different. So that's why the figures that everyone has right now, the vest doesn't have the gold. And instead of the Lamp of Wisdom, which now comes with the Djinn of Wisdom, there's a tracking light that Aladdin uses in the film. And so this is the figure right here that everyone has. Woohoo! So here is the interesting part of the story. Now, I know that they detained these figures. Whoops. These figures here. I know I got letters from Detroit. I was on the phone with people. They destroyed thousands of figures. Here is the crazy part of the story. This morning, I got an email from the company that makes these in China. We just found boxes of the original figure, not the thousands that I ordered, but a lot of them.
Really?
And they're like, we have them. They're already made. All you have to do is pay shipping. Do you want them? And I was like, yeah, I want them. So now I'm going to have a deluxe version of the figure that's different from the ones that that you guys have that looks like this. I can't wait. It's the exact same figure. Otherwise, it just comes with a different, it's the tracking light instead of the lamp. And then he's going to have like a shimmery gold vest. It'll be like the deluxe version.
If it gets through customs.
If it gets through customs this time, yeah.
Can you imagine how elaborate that would be? Like, these are knockoff Han Solos. You're like, okay, I'm going to dress up my friend like this character looks like Han Solo, but not like Han Solo, with the beard, send it to customs. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. Okay, so obviously we need to talk because there's a new semester beginning, Macomb College. This is the photo that I've had forever, which is just the mock-up that they had before they actually did the renovation. Finally, I actually I remember a year ago, your wife Jackie posted a bunch of photos, and I assume she took these as well, right? And I remember like, wow, those are beautiful photos. And I was out of town that weekend, so I couldn't be there. So I actually raided her Facebook and found a bunch of photos that she took. The building is awesome. You have to check it out. And we didn't have a lot of kinks, but any kinks that we had, we ironed out really, really quickly. And the facilities are amazing. Do you know, is this up and running yet, the upper level there?
Almost.
Almost?
We are so close to getting there. There are people, the stairs are put in. They have walked up there and checked it out and stuff. I think they're hoping for an August open so that you could walk up there. But that area is supposed to be a student lounge area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the nice things. If you've never been to, or if you've been to the building before the renovations, this area is just like a waiting room, basically. Now it's a student lounge area. So students are always in there hanging out, and then you'll have it upstairs, more area for you to hang out in.
So you can kind of see here from the front, there's a whole upstairs up there. And are there going to be vending machines up there? And stuff,
No, the vending machines are still in the
back.
deck.
Yeah, I can't wait. That'll really be nice once that opens. So now you can, it's hard to tell, but there's actually just a picture of the area and there's stairs leading up to it's just a wall, but it should be really nice. Hopefully by the time the semester opens. So I have just a couple random photos here. This is on the outside of a lot of our classrooms. There are really cool showcases where we can show student work and different things that are just kind of associated, related to the field. So tell me, maybe you told me, but I don't remember. So is this like a history of VR or something?
No, those are just like some different 3D things that I've collected over the years. So on the far right is like the super old throw your cell phone in this cardboard box.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch these specific videos, it'll flash left and right cameras.
Yeah.
So you can see like the different views and get a 3D view for it.
Yeah.
And then the far left is like the original Oculus ones.
Wow.
I've tried that before, and like there's a huge technology jump from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
1, I could be in it for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I gotta get out of here because it's just a headache.
Yeah.
And then I jumped out of it to the 2, and then 2 is like you can be in for hours.
Yeah.
And then 3 apparently is even better. I'm not there yet. And then there's some 3D glasses, obviously like the old 50s style that they had.
Sure.
And then the one that's kind of like on the white head, but they're like clear.
Yeah.
Those are chroma key glasses that actually look clear, but they pull out specific values of different colors.
Wow.
So I think those ones are like you'll see red, blue, and green at different levels of 3D.
Huh.
So you could use those for an advertisement for any product.
Yeah.
And have it just look more 3D.
Interesting. That's cool. This is Shaun Sheehan's room, and there's a bunch of...
It's the motion design room.
The motion design room as well.
Photoshop, portfolio. But some great illustrations back there.
Awesome vector illustrations. This is one of the design showcases that Deanna Sheehan put together. This is the digital video lab. This room is ginormous, and this is just looking at one side of it. Yep. Super cool. And there's a cyclone wall. Yep.
So they're putting that stuff in. So one of the things, especially coming out of the pandemic, was just how long it was taking to get any technology. So there was a delay in getting like some of the lights and monitors and cameras and stuff. A lot of that stuff came in over the past couple months. And so here they're actually building the green screen wall. So hopefully that's finished and painted by the time we start up classes. You can see the lights and the tracks that are there.
Yeah.
And the video monitoring stations are being set up. A lot of stuff. It's hard to believe. Every time I go in there, it's something new that they've like been working on.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
And then this is one of the design rooms. This is the digital design room.
Yep, that's the digital design room there. So they do logos. They do a lot of packaging design stuff. That's Deanna's room, Deanna Sheehan's room.
Super cool. Okay, so we're going to rifle through some of the classes, and we wanted to show some student work. So this is from one of the very first classes. This is illustration fundamentals. These are Garth sent these in from some of his classes. And there's a bunch of different projects where you get into perspective and just some basic drawing techniques, a little bit of drawing people. It's kind of a little bit of everything just kind of crammed into one class. It's just kind of an introduction to all tangible, traditional illustration. And here's some toned paper with the black and white color pencils, which is always a really cool way to draw. And you can kind of see here, this is actually 3-point perspective that this camera is drawn in. And then this, I believe, is Photoshop. So tell us about these.
So this is our final project in Intro to Photoshop. So this is a photo collage, basically. The students are given a folder with a whole bunch of different images, and they have to come up with a storyline, come up with some sketches of what they want it to look like, and then they mash it all together in Photoshop and make sure it's all blended. And so being able to see what that bunch of images thrown together into a sketch, into Photoshop, put together and polished, this is what the students are creating at the end of those 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing to look at, because if you've picked, they have different genres they can pick. If you pick the sci-fi genre, which is what we're seeing here, you're going to get 30 different views or 30 different concepts of what people have come up with.
Yeah.
I've been teaching this assignment for years, and I've never had like the same exact thing come out of it. And so it just goes to show, like, you can tell the same or different stories with the same set of images.
Yeah.
And so it helps get you that creativity going there. And then obviously, like, taking this into future classes, making this come to life, like making the UFO fly in and the light come on and the cow gets sucked up into the UFO.
Yeah.
Like, all of those things is like fundamentals.
Yeah.
And I like how you put these together too, because the illustration fundamentals, those are the fundamentals of drawing. I remember Sylvia taught my class.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming to see how amazing she was at drawing something.
Yeah.
And how just keeping working at it would be able to get us there. But yeah, it was a great class.
Mm-hmm.
Of the classes I've taken at Macomb, I have 2 Bs. That's one of my classes, is Illustration Fundamentals was a B.
Oh.
The other one was like pre-calc or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great class. And then Intro to Photoshop is the introduction to Photoshop. So it's a lot of the same stuff that you're going to be doing in the later classes, but it's just that foundation.
Yeah.
Photoshop, if you don't know Photoshop, like, you have a hard time understanding any of the other concepts.
For sure. And it's such a great introduction of just the possibilities. Like you were saying, imagine if you can compose this stuff now, just wait until you start making this stuff move.
Yep.
You know, which is or playing more with texture and vector and being able to zoom in and everything. This is rendering, and also these are Garth Glazer. This is a project where they're using markers to render different textures, which is super cool. It's such a great project. This also is a portrait done with just grayscale markers. Super cool. And then this is this
is a still image from one of our 3D animation projects. So the students they have to rig this little robot guy and then animate him telling the story. So when we talk about in that first Photoshop class, like starting to tell a story, then we get to animation. Now we're thinking about animation as a storytelling tool, right? And so that's what we're seeing here. The robot, this is a still image, obviously. He walks up with a basketball, bounces it, shoots it in the hoop, and then gets it. So while the students are doing this, our assignment is we're going to go through and learn how to rig the robot. By now, they've done animation. They have to then apply those animation skills, right? Understanding cameras and lights and movement and obviously storytelling, but then also troubleshooting some of that stuff. Like, how do I animate a net? How do I animate how do I get the reflections to look the way that I want them to look, so they're not super glossy or not there at all? How do I make the shadows look good?
Yeah.
Right. So all of those things that we're doing in rendering,
it comes right back. Yeah.
And then this is again another one where we animate this little claw thing, and again you get a different concept based on each person's project. And again, no one's coming up with the same idea, except for a couple of them. They break away from their own creativity and kind of just do what I did sometimes. But we're working on those pieces. Here's some poses, so character pose type stuff, understanding how you've rigged something. Now let's apply it to a whole character and then tell a story with just a still image. So these are not animated. This is just a still image having to tell a story with that person.
So cool.
Yep. And we use Photoshop at the end of this to help polish it and make sure the colors look good. Everything's well balanced. If we need to adjust any of the lighting or anything, we can do that too.
So cool. I just get to some comments really quick. Premise Land says, very nice. Eric Steele says, the lost Aladdins have been found. Yes, I know. Isn't that cool? So excited. I want to see how many I get and then try to figure out, like, are these going to be contest prizes or something maybe for a future Kickstarter or something that, like, if there's any screenings, like random people win them. Like I want to, because they might be very exclusive. We'll see how many I'm able to get. I thought I'd never see one because I thought for sure they're just going in an incinerator and just like,
But we'll cross our fingers for sure.
yeah. Hopefully it gets through customs this time. Thick Jesus says, love looking at the showcases. Excited for the semester. Have a class with both of you. Awesome. Nice. Cannot wait. Take that back. I have a class with his wife and you. Oh, okay.
The other Shaun.
Oh, the other Shaun. Okay. So you have a class with neither of us.
Yeah.
That's Shaun Sheehan.
Yeah. No, with you.
Oh, okay.
With you and Shaun Sheehan's wife, with Deanna.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's very confusing. I'm Shaun Sarcona with an S. He's Shaun Sheehan with an S.
All right. So anyway, this is figure illustration 1, drawing from models. It's a hybrid class, so half the time we're on ground drawing from models, and then the other days we're drawing from photographs. But it's really cool because I'm able to pick and choose which are the important days to meet in person and which are days where we can kind of go through the routine a little bit more and work from home. Also, we start the sketchbook challenge. Here's a really cool one called Meet the Artist that Greg Rochon did, which I thought was really neat. You see these all over Instagram. If you're an artist and you follow artists, everyone always does a really cool Meet the Artist. It kind of shows a little bit of their personality and things that they're into. Then moving into pre-visualization, which is essentially storyboards, but pre-viz is used for anything: film, animation, comic books. People do pre-viz for children's books, mapping out, how the pages are going to be and how the pacing goes throughout the book, and lots of cool stuff that we cover. It's basically all things visual storytelling. These are some really cool thumbnails right here, kind of planning everything out. And we just have a lot of fun in that class. Here's some character designs. We get a little bit into that, but it's mostly visual storytelling. It's kind of a cross between like drawing and filmmaking 101. It's just a really cool course. Again, look at these beautiful thumbnails, just awesome compositions. So nice. Really great work. And there is space in my Tuesday, Thursday class from 2 to 5. There are seats available in previs. This is actually a remote class, this one. So you can take it. And even if you don't live close, if you're interested, sign up for it now. Now's a good time because classes start 2 weeks from tomorrow. So get on it. And then Thick Jesus says, I got a Sarcona too. Fruit Loop says, I had a ton of fun in your classes. Eager to have figure illustration too in the winter. Woohoo. Awesome. Cannot wait.
It is crazy. I had to check. I'm like, 2 weeks? Does that sound right? It is 2 weeks.
It is 2 weeks. Next week is week 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week is week 0, where you, depending on your class, you might have access to some week 0 things like
stuff to get ready.
Yeah. Like the first day handout, but also if there's any supplies you need to get and everything else. So get on it. If you want to jump in classes, now is the time. So what's this all about?
So one of our projects we do in our After Effects class, the last project, well, I do it in my After Effects class, is we have a script. We have, in this case, we were doing a trailer for one of the ITIA classes at Macomb, which is network security. So you want to be a hacker, like this is the class to take, an ethical hacker, by the way. So the students have to take the script and they have to go through and create, just like Matt was saying, the little storyboards about what each one of those things would do and how we would get from one shot to the next shot to the next. Now, this isn't videotaped, so it's all graphic based, but they still have to understand when he says VPN, this is the graphic I'm going to have. How am I going to get from VPN to the next thing? I have to figure out, am I going to slide these things up like this? Am I going to slide this thing out? Are these things going to go into the middle? Mm-hmm. How am I going to transition from one still image to the next still image or next animation? And so students have to understand all of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to show at this one is just the different styles. Okay, so if we look at this one, if you have the next one there too, no, maybe a little bit further Keep going. Keep going. One more. That one. Yep.
Oh yeah.
So this is the other one. So that one there, and then the other one that you saw, the greenish one, this is the same concept. So each person is showing VPN a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
And is either way incorrect? No, they both show the same thing. But what you would see when you are working with a client is that the client may say, you know what, the green one doesn't really do it for me. I really like this style. Or they don't like this one. They really like the green one because it's bigger and it's more engaging. So part of our industry is always working with the client to find out what they want. And when you take a class like Previs, you're able to show them, here's what I'm thinking of. And then, do you like this concept? And if they like that concept, then they can go ahead and go through with that process. If they don't, you scrap it at the Previs stage, move on to the next idea, and then you're able to actually create the high-res graphics and the animations.
Yeah.
So all the more reason why Previs is such an important class, because there's so much stuff that's inside there.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of people probably look at the drawings that we showed.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's overwhelming. I can never do that.
Yeah.
No, it's communication.
Yeah.
Everyone's communication style is completely different.
Yeah.
So understanding that as long as you can communicate, this person's here and that person's there, and this is how the camera is going to move.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Yeah. And, you know, I tell students all the time, even though there are tips on how to draw, and I've got some quick tips on how to make things look better, really it's about communicating better. It's not really a class that's like how to make your drawings amazing, but it's all about communication. And one of my greatest examples that I love sharing, even though obviously you want to try to draw as good as you can, however that may be, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which arguably is like the greatest film of all time, Steven Spielberg storyboarded that himself, and he is horrible at drawing. It's really bad stick figures, but if you know the film and you look at the storyboards, you can tell exactly what everything is, and it's all about blocking. It's all about showing this part of the screen is this woman's face. She's screaming. There's squigglies, like you don't really know what it is. Oh, that's the snakes in the background. Okay, you know, and it's just it's about communicating to bring everyone on the same page. And if you can plan all of that, it just makes the rest of the project go a lot quicker.
Absolutely. And then these ones here are some frame by frames we do. So this is a top left is the start of an explosion. So the students have to animate frame by frame, like drawing an explosion. So little ducky, the explosion, the duck is all gone.
You know?
And then the next one here, we actually take a video and we draw on top of the video.
That's cool.
And animate on top of there and have to interact and engage with those pieces.
Love that. What class is this?
1900.
Okay.
Yep. So this is intro to After Effects, intro to motion graphics.
Love that.
And what's cool about it is like when we deal with, this is the thing that you have to eventually understand is that when you deal with video and you're drawing out your storyboards, you have this many frames, you have no idea how long that's going to take.
Right.
Right. So the same thing here when we do animations, you don't know how long it takes for something to look like a nice fluid action movement. So what do? You animate against a movie. That way you can see this is how long something's going to take. If I want something to look like a lightning bolt striking or a water droplet or whatever, if I have something that I can already use for timing purposes, it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
We even use music at one point to help us kind of sync up some animations happening because it already has a tempo, it already has a rhythm to it.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
Brian Sancelli says, hello, how are you
Brian.
doing? And then Conrad is hanging out with us. Watching all this brings back so many memories. Awesome. Good to see you. I enjoyed Intro to Motion Graphics when I took the class. My poor laptop, on the other hand, did not. No.
That's the worst part.
Yeah.
And then this is another one along the same lines as the frame by frame. So they do a plasma strike.
Nice.
Yep. And so there's the left side is the start of it and the right side is like the end of it.
Yeah. So cool.
And then we do a little user interface.
Nice.
Again, thinking about like the client, what the client wants, how they envision what the end product should look like, and making sure we're meeting those needs. Let me see that.
So figure 2 is advanced figure. This is really nice here. And also in both figure 1 and figure 2, there are certain days where I allow students to use any media that they want. So there are students that will actually bring in laptops or iPads and work digitally, which is great. We start getting into line art, and we get into different styles, everything from comic book to manga to fashion, and kind of working with all of that. Here's some really cool cross hatching of Aladdin, and also of James Polony, who plays a character named Shen. And then what's cool about figure 2 is we slowly start going into full color. We start with limited color first, and it's a really great way to kind of learn color. I always found in classes when I was starting out, a lot of times you would do black and white, black and white, black and white, you'd be really good. And then full color, and it was like, but I find when you move into it slowly, that way you're still staying on top of things like contrast and texture and composition and everything else, and not just suddenly going crazy with the full color.
Yeah, you have to know the values first before you start moving into color.
Yep. Anyway, figure 2, there is space available, so jump on that ASAP if you want to get into figure 2. By the way, if you're just taking these courses for fun, figure 1 is already waitlist filled, so you can't get in there anyway. But if you're figure 1, not that there's anything wrong with this, but we draw, when we're on ground, we draw nude people. Sometimes people feel weird about that, or people just want the experience of learning how to draw costumes. So we actually have models in figure 2 that are cosplay models, and sometimes they'll come in with a really cool costume. That's MACA 2190 figure illustration 2. You can register now at macomb.edu.
My favorite class, and when I took classes through Macomb as a student, was figure.
Mm-hmm.
I grew the most as an artist in figure class.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to stay focused and to draw that person for 3 hours. At that time, it was twice a week, but you were sitting there drawing and drawing and drawing. There's no other way around it. You're going to get better the more you draw stuff.
Yeah. Did you have Sylvia as well?
I did have Sylvia.
Okay.
And it's funny because me and my brother took the class together, and right behind us were 2 twin girls.
Oh,
we're not twins,
but
it was just funny.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters in the same class.
Huh. Interesting.
What's
this cool thing?
Intro to 3D. So now we're building 3D models. This is a 3D mech. This is like our final project, is that they understand the basic interface of 3D. Some of these people do have some 3D experience already. So, don't say that everyone's going to get this one, but, it is where you could end up. It is a great spot to be. So many little pieces and gadgets.
Yeah.
When you're in something like figure 2 and you're learning how to draw all of these cosplay things with all the different ornaments and things on there, when you get into 3D, it's just adding those elements to your 3D characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to spin around them. Unlike your figure drawing, like one view.
Yeah, one thing. Yeah, one thing. Super cool. Brian Zanchelli says, I cannot wait for pre-visualization class in fall semester. Woohoo!
This is another 3D animation one. So this is the same mech, but this one has multiple mech things happening inside here. So he actually put several pieces together for this mech animation. This is 2540 class. Yep. And this is another mech character from the intro class. And again, everyone comes up with their own design. They sketch out different things, basic shapes. Just like Matt was talking about by drawing R2, is like, even though we're working in 3D, we still work off of basic shapes to then build those more complex pieces.
Yep.
And there's another one with a little plug tail.
Speaking of more complex pieces, there you go.
Yeah, it's very cool. And we wanted to try to 3D print some of these. But our 3D printer is one of the things that, since renovations, they're, have been down. Hopefully they'll be up in the fall, so we can actually 3D print some of these and have little action figures of them. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then obviously dealing with texture too.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Just simple robots with a lot of like little details to them goes a long way.
Adorbs.
Yep. And then we do a pop can. So the students deal with the labels. They build the pop can. They're telling the story using Photoshop. These things could be animated too if they wanted. There's so many different avenues for all of these. This is one of the fun projects, the building.
Yeah.
It's very architectural. So you're just building very, very simple shapes and just putting them in different spots. And if you look at any one of these areas, you can see these individual pieces. Like, that's not very complex. That's not very complex.
Yeah.
But understanding you put it all together.
Put it all together, sure.
Yeah, and it looks a lot more cooler, funner than it would any, trying to oversell it, right?
Yeah. The lighting is so cool.
Yeah, and then we actually animate those. So we do an animation of the building like being built, basically.
Oh, okay.
And there's another one. Again, students come up with their own theme, their own idea for what they want. 3D was like what I love 3D.
Yeah.
Like, I was originally going into photography, and I actually did some freelance photography jobs and stuff, and still do. But then I got into 3D, and I was like, "Oh, this is a lot funner."
Yeah, create your own. It's like
yeah.
you're creating your own without having to be there to take a photo of it.
Yeah. Well, originally it was like photography. When I took it, was black and white.
Yeah.
In the lab, that kind of stuff. Where 3D,
Sure.
you could just sit in there all day and not have to spend a dime on chemicals or paper.
Yeah, travel and the whole bit.
Yeah.
So this is painted illustration. This is the portrait assignment. This is Claire Santelli did this, and such a killer illustration. There's also a reflective object that we do in that class. I think this is one as well. And it's just so cool. Like, look
That's
at
awesome.
Both of these are so good, but they're also like, this is a little bit more of an advanced class, and like the styles like are both completely different, but also so good. Really, really cool. Scott Jones did this. That bumper is just amazing for the Ghostbusters vehicle. The landscape project, which is a completely different technique of painting, but it's really good for learning how to show depth through color and contrast or lack thereof.
Now, what's funny about that one, so in motion design and intro to motion graphics, we have an assignment where we actually draw sketches of different landscapes and a character, and then we'll go into Illustrator and build them out. And then we actually bring those to life. So this kind of thing is exactly like you could draw those in different layers, scan them in, and then bring that whole thing to life. Fly a camera through it, everything.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It is.
And then my last plug, because there's also seats available in painted illustration. There is a prereq for this class, but again, if you're just taking it for fun, if you're just interested loosely in the program, but you don't want to commit to anything, if you're interested in this course, let me know. I can waive the prereq and get you in there. If you're interested, though, sign up for it tomorrow, because week 0 is next week. Classes actually start the week after that. Have you seen The Acolyte? Have you watched it?
I have not.
Okay. Then we won't talk about it.
You can talk about it. Go ahead.
Well,
I have such a horrible memory.
I've talked about it we talked about it last time, and I think there was just a couple episodes left. I am one of the people that for the most part, I give it thumbs up. The first couple episodes were a little bit shaky. The end of the 4th episode was so good. Like, it gave me, I watched the end of it over and over. And then episode 5, amazing. Episode 6, amazing. The episode 6 doesn't even have action in it, and it was amazing. Episode 7 was a little, like, I don't know. But then episode 8 was great again. I hope they're doing more. It was
Do
really,
I need
really
to pre-watch anything in order to watch this?
Nope.
I can go in fresh.
All new characters.
Okay.
It's 100 years before the prequels. You don't have to know anything about anything.
That's perfect.
And it's really, really good. Yeah, all new characters.
This is where I mess up, is because I cannot watch something and just watch the show. I have to do something else.
Yeah.
So I have to partially pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, when what's the one with Baby Yoda that came out?
Mandalorian,
right? So Mandalorian came out, and I was like half paying attention to it. And I'm like, oh, this is a prequel to like when Yoda was born. And then I mentioned that to someone. They're like, no, that's not what this is at all.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I obviously don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So I abandoned it. It was still cool though.
Yeah,
like the graphics and all the story was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just get lost when I'm supposed to know more of the other stuff.
Yeah. And The Mandalorian actually started that way, where you really didn't need to know anything. I mean, an Uber fan would say it takes place between the original trilogy and the newer one, so it wasn't actually Baby Yoda, but still you could watch it and enjoy it. You don't need to know about anything. And then it kind of, by the third season, it kind of dovetails into, yeah, you kind of need to know about Ahsoka Tano and all this other stuff. So I liked it better when it was just its own thing. I think a lot of fans would agree too. But anyway, I had this thing I was going to go over each time I do this. I grab another piece of fan mail and stuff, and then sometimes they just want me to sign stuff. So we're a little bit over on time. So I usually have everyone help me like write a funny thing. Have you ever seen any of the signatures that Mark Hamill does on cards? He is a master at taking, like, if people have a trading card or a photo, and because he's older now and everyone wants like the young Mark Hamill, he'll write something so witty about like how tight his pants were, or just like, he's so funny. And like, people have collected these on the internet. Every single one is different. He never writes the same thing twice.
That's awesome.
There are hundreds of them, and every one is really, really funny. I'm not as clever on a dime like that, so I usually have everyone chime in and tell me something fun to write on whatever it is that they want me to sign. We're going to skip that this time just for the sake of time, but that is the live stream lounge. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's an official live stream podcast. If you want to watch or listen to any of these, you just go to the live tab on my YouTube channel. Next time will be probably not next week, but there will be one soon. Dan Phillips I want to get on soon. Tom Savage I want to get on soon, and lots to chat about. Lot is going to be happening soon with Aladdin 3477. So can't wait. Anything else you want to chat about before we
one of the things we had this past year was me and Matt and several other faculty, like, we did a bunch of events throughout the entire year. Just time, we can't show everything. This coming year, we got even more stuff. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have our first event. We're saving that. So stay tuned, stay aware of it, because we'll be sharing that information when we get the final details of when it is and where it is. It'll be a great opportunity for you to come in and see the building. But if you are interested in taking classes, obviously sign up ASAP, because you want to get those spots before they're either taken or whatever. And then if you are in classes, get your stuff ready. Get your computer. If you have a crappy laptop, get a better laptop. If you have, hardware you need, or software or pencils or whatever, get all that stuff ahead of time. Get yourself ready for it. And I know I'm excited to start back up again. Summer was great, but I haven't lectured in a while.
Isn't that crazy? I feel like that both as a teacher and as a student. Usually when summer starts, I'm so ready for it. Like, I just need the break. I need the recharge. And I feel like the last thing I want to think about is school. But usually August hits and I'm like, I want to go back. Even when I was a student, like, I'm hungry for it. Like, give it to me,
Right. I'm excited to see, because every year we kind of push the envelope of what we're doing in all the classes to help you guys get ready for what the industry wants. So when we push, you guys push too, and you get the same kind of stuff you're seeing up there on the screen. So it's always great to see like what you guys create. It always keeps me going. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yep.
Sweet.
Also, be sure to follow Shaun on all of the socials. You're usually sharing a lot of really cool stuff. So
LinkedIn is my main thing.
LinkedIn is the main thing. Okay,
Yeah.
what is you on LinkedIn?
Sarcona.
The Sarcona S.
Yeah. That's where I share most of my stuff. My Instagram is mostly food.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you. That was amazing. And Cheeky Romero, thank you so much. What have you got going on these days? Anything? Oh, you're preparing for Horror Film Roulette.
Yep. Horror Film Roulette. We just got signed up for the early registering.
Oh,
early
yeah.
registration, and we're going to be competing this year.
Awesome. And what?
When do they need to be registered by?
Oh, that I don't know.
Well, there's going to be a kickoff, and
yeah.
the kickoff is usually September.
Yeah, it's
right?
sometime in September. I know that you can register right until the like a deadline of submission. At least that's how it's been in the past. If
Yeah.
you can make a movie in 48 hours, they got a competition for that.
Right.
So I assume it's the same.
Yeah. Well,
So
some
that is-
people can even register late, but if you register late, you've got 4 weeks to make a film. So if you register 2 days late, now you've got 3 weeks and 5 days to make a film.
Yeah, but it used to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
But now's the time
It's
too
so
to start
much better
getting your
now.
team together. If you're going to get a
Absolutely.
team, if
Yeah.
you know you need a video person, a script writer, a director, or whatever, actors, get all that stuff together. Get some ideas. Start working as a team to kind of figure out how everyone does work. When you get the prompt, and then it's go time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's cool. They've been doing it. Is this year 13 or is it 12
Yeah,
or 11?
I think it's 11 because I think last year was
Okay.
10.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, there was 2 years it got foiled because of COVID,
Yeah.
but I can't stress enough. There are people. This started with 3 people that 1 year just wanted, instead of making like a haunted house in their basement for their friends, they thought, why don't we just all make short horror films and then we'll show them to each other on Halloween. It basically started as that, and it's grown into this cool thing. But I can't tell you how many people have met through the horror film roulette, have become friends, have started businesses. Like obviously Josh Tobby and his whole crew. Like it's amazing the things they've gone on to do. It's really, really cool. People have made friends for life. Did you meet Alexis through horror film roulette? Is it really through horror film roulette?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was with the film that we won in 2019.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh, that's awesome. So you can even find the love of your life
Yep.
in
Never
at
know,
horror
it's
film roulette.
possible.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll be talking about that as well. But Macomb.edu is where you register. And if you haven't seen the new building, you need to come check it out. Like if you're alumni or something like that, you got to see what the new building looks like.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, that does it for this. Fruit Loop says, see you in the halls. Brian Zanchelli says, I'll see you the 20th of August. Awesome. Awesome. All right, gang. Can't wait to see you guys next time. Be good. And we'll see you soon. Rock and roll. Woohoo! Bye, everybody.